Council meeting for, I don't know if you heard all that, but thank you and welcome again to the Mesa City Council meeting for December the 9th of 2024. I will note for the record that all of our council are present for this meeting. We will begin this meeting with an invocation offered by my friend Pastor Jose Luis Amaya with Iglesia de Cristo Elim Betel Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand for the prayer and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, Pastor.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone, welcome. Let's pray. Thank the Lord. Father, we thank you for this special moment. We thank you for every one of the council members and our Mayor John Giles. And we ask you all the time for the blessings to them, for their families, and also for them to have all the time the knowledge, understanding, and the wisdom that you give them to serve our community. We thank you, Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Oh, yes.
Yes, I just want to have 1 minute and to express our gratitude to our mayor that for 10 years you're doing good job, and everybody appreciate what you do, all the communities, and we thank you for your service. It's been so good.
Oh,
and I'd like to present this to you from our church and the Hispanic community.
Thank you.
To you, and I can read it quick if it's okay.
Okay, why don't you read it, and that'll give me time to jog down up front and accept that. Okay? Thank you.
It says from Iglesia de Cristo Elim, and we do this appreciation to our Mayor John Giles, who amazes us with his service, performance, and faithfulness for many years of service. Thank you for being a good man of faith.
Thank you, Pastor.
God bless you. I'll give you the back later.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pastor Amaya and his congregation are a wonderful blessing to our community. I think I reflect back to COVID and how he stepped up with the Adopt a Grandparent program during the pandemic and all the other opportunities that you've created and responded to in our community. We appreciate you and your congregation. The first item on our agenda is awards and recognitions. And we have 3 awards that we want to highlight today. First, Mesa has a deep-rooted history in aviation, including our Falcon Field Airport, which was initially a training base for the Royal Air Force. Councilmember Duff, who has a very fun history, a family history associated with this cause, has invited the Arizona Aviation History Group and Mesa Sister Cities here tonight to make a commemorative presentation to our Falcon Field Airport. Councilmember Duff.
Of attending the United Kingdom Falcon Field Day at the National Memorial Arboretum in England, representing the city of Mesa. And we gathered to commemorate the deep connection between our communities and pay tribute to the brave cadets who trained in Mesa and served in World War II. Falcon Field was established in 1941 to train British Royal Air Force pilots. More than 2,000 young, courageous cadets from England came to our city far from their home to prepare for the challenges ahead, serving with honor in the defense of freedom. In recognition of their service, we presented a plaque to the Falcon Field, the Next Generation Association at the National Memorial Arboretum in England for Falcon Field Day. It was a deeply meaningful event as this United Kingdom Association comprises of Royal Air Force pilots who trained at Falcon Field during World War II. Yes, I think there's 2 or 3 remaining, and their descendants. Some of these brave pilots lost their life during training here and are buried in the King's Plot at the Mesa Cemetery, and we recognize their service and loss every year on Veterans Day Sunday. As a descendant of one of the pilots who stayed in Mesa after the war, I found it particularly meaningful to visit their homeland and honor their service and their ultimate sacrifice for freedom. So this plaque serves as a tribute to their sacrifice and the profound bond between Mesa and the United Kingdom. I know the memory of those who trained at Falcon Field will always remind us of the power of courage, collaboration, and the unbreakable ties between Mesa and the United Kingdom. And in this light, we are in the process of establishing a United Kingdom Mesa sister city. So here with us today, as the mayor had mentioned, is Christine Selman, president of Mesa Sister Cities, and Jocelyn Condon of the Arizona Aviation History Group, and some other members. But if Jocelyn and Christine can come forward to the podium to share a few words. And then stay remaining, and we'll do a photo.
Hello. Thank you, Councilmember Jen Duff and Mayor Giles for having me here today representing Mesa Sister Cities. I'm honored to be a part of the awards and recognition of this meeting. As you know, Mesa Sister Cities is as what we consider the not-for-profit, one of the not-for-profit arms of the city of Mesa that is really out there being a community advocate for the city of Mesa. To create global community partners and friendships, to keep our borders open and with friendship. And we work and have friendships with Peru, Mexico, China, New Zealand, Canada, and currently working on partnerships with Malaysia and Bury St. Edmunds in England. So I appreciate being here today. I was on that trip to go to Bury St. Edmunds, and we were able to go to the Arboretum, and seeing the love of Mesa come from the aviation group was astounding, and how much memory that each of them had. We just knew that it was the right thing to have them become a sister city. So we are in the works of that, and I thank you both for your support with that and your guidance. So without further ado, Jocelyn.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Condon, founder of the nonprofit No. 4 British Flying Training School Association and part of the Arizona Aviation Historical Group. The British pilot program was a true collaboration with U.S. instructors, British cadets, Mesa residents, and great flying weather. Many Mesa residents worked at Falcon Field, and they welcomed cadets into their homes on the weekends. They formed lifelong friendships that continued formally as the Falcon Field Association and had reunions and newsletters. The pilots often came for Remembrance Day to pay tribute to the 23 cadets that were killed during training that lay in our Mesa cemetery. And after the war was over, some returned to live in Mesa, just as Councilmember Duff's family. 8 years ago, one of the English descendants saw a bumper sticker the pilots had made, and it said, "I learned to fly at Falcon Field." She wondered, where's Falcon Field and why did my dad go there? She contacted Corrine and her staff and planned a vacation to find out. She and I were introduced and a friendship was started. A ride in a Stearman was taken, and we wondered if there were more descendants with the same questions. Our search then found 19 pilots, 50 widows, and over 80 families on 4 continents, and we're still finding more. In 2021, I spearheaded and planned the 80th anniversary celebration of Falcon Field and the No. 4 British Flying Training School, and held it at one of the original World War II hangars. That started a new gathering of descendants in England every year since. Today, our association and the Arizona Aviation Historical Group are helping the completion of a documentary about the No. 4 British Flying Training School called Patriot Skies. We plan the Remembrance Day ceremony every year at the Mesa Cemetery, and we're working with the British Consulate in Los Angeles to find a British sister city for Mesa. We're helping the archive room at the Mesa Library as well as the Mesa Historical Museum. To further spread the word about No. 4, we designed a new bumper sticker for all the new pilots that learned to fly at Falcon Field. The airport, its staff, and our nonprofit together play an integral part of connecting, sharing, and preserving the history of Falcon Field. This plaque is made of wood saved from the World War II hangar after the devastating storm. It's made by Sarah and Dave Henches of Hawkeye Engraving, a longtime Mesa business. It's a replica of the plaque placed at the National Memorial Arboretum in England, and we thought it would be fitting to have a copy of it in the airport terminal to spark the questions with new visitors of why were the British here? The plaque says, in honor of over 2,300 RAF cadets who trained as pilots on 27 courses at No. 4 British Flying Training School, Falcon Field, Mesa, Arizona, 1941 to 1945. They will rise on wings like eagles. We'd like to thank Corrine Nystrom. Her dedication has made a difference and in true Mesa spirit, created many friendships. And this is the plaque. Corrine?
Jen?
Thank you. Is it okay to appreciate everything you do?
Yeah, we'll go down there. I'll invite us all to go down there. Councilmember Duff, anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. Well, then, again, thank you, Councilmember Duff, Jocelyn, and Christine. Well, let's have the council go down to the front for a photograph with this one beautiful plaque.
Okay.
I think we break either way here, right? Thank you. That's such a fun story. For anyone who doesn't know the story of the RAF cadets coming to Mesa, go to It's Always Cool in Mesa podcast. There's a great description of that. And you should everyone should go to the event that's on the Sunday of Veterans Day, where folks from the RAF come over and help us honor the 21 cadets that are there who lost their lives during World War II in Mesa, Arizona. Next, volunteerism is a cornerstone of our great city. I'm grateful for the dedication and generosity of Mesa residents who selflessly give their time and talents to make our city stronger. This year, the City of Mesa was recognized with the 2024 Global JustServe Award. Here to tell us more is Sarah Anderson of JustServe. Sarah.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. It is my privilege to be able to present to you locally what was already given at the National League of Cities Conference, the Global JustServe City Award. This award is given in recognition of Mesa's exceptional commitment to volunteerism. And it starts here with the executive team, with the mayor and your vision, and the city council members who are getting their hands dirty at Love Your City Day and 9/11 Day. I know there are lots of things in between those events also where you're volunteering, and it is supported by your excellent staff at Community Engagement with Cynthia Escura, and the rubber really starts to hit the road with Katie Pollock, who is the city's volunteer program coordinator, and all of the volunteer coordinators at all the city departments make a big difference. But perhaps the most important reason that the spirit of volunteerism thrives here in Mesa is the thousands of volunteers who reach out and lend a hand to their neighbors throughout the year. I'm thinking of Bonnie, who's kind of a classic grandma, and if you visualize Mrs. Claus in your head, that's maybe who you're gonna see. And she was there early on a cold January morning in her beanie and scarf and puffer coat and tennis shoes to help with the point-in-time homeless count, not just counting members of our community who experience homelessness, but helping them connect to community resources and giving them a packet of winter supplies. I'm thinking about James, who coordinates the dinner as a volunteer at Paz de Cristo. I think 12 nights a month, he told me, for years. If you volunteer with James at Paz de Cristo, he gathers in all the volunteers and talks to you about treating the dinner guests with dignity and compassion and kindness. And then he leads the group of volunteers in a prayer, and then boom, it's off to the races. He is the most efficient guy, and we serve 150 to 200 people that night working with James at Paz de Cristo. I'm thinking of Taylor, who with Superstition Manor Event Center, who uses his expertise and his video production equipment to help the Hip Hop Homies produce their videos. And the Hip Hop Homies are a group of young adults with Down syndrome who spread the joy they feel through dancing and making these videos. And so it's a great example of Taylor helping the Hip Hop Homies who, again, help their community. And I'm thinking about Judy, who has spent years gathering members of different congregations of all faiths to help children who have experienced abuse, or families who are homeless, or refugees, or veterans. And if you go to Judy's house, there is almost always a box on her porch with a sign where she's collecting donations for the vulnerable people she's working with at that time. And I could go on and on because the city of Mesa is just chock full of these kinds of volunteers. And our city is safer and more resilient and more beautiful and a more welcoming and a more united city because of these volunteers. And so on behalf of all of the great Mesa volunteers, it's my honor to present to you this Global JustServe City Award and to thank you for your leadership in this most important civic duty, our duty to reach out and lend a hand to our fellow travelers on this earth. Congratulations to the City of Mesa, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much, Sarah. This is a very meaningful award, and again, to recognize in this way is very gratifying. Council, let's go up front and take a photo with Sarah and this award. Right here. Thanks for being here. Are we in? Shall we consolidate a little bit? Are we all in the frame? Okay. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
It's a big deal. We appreciate it. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Is there more? Those are all 5 Cs, right? Nope, they're not. Finally, over the weekend, the City of Mesa was recognized with the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals Initiative Innovation Award at an event in Munich, Germany. I was honored to be there to talk about Mesa's Climate Action Plan and Sustainable Development Initiatives. I've asked Frances Tesmer from the organization to join us this evening to share more about the award. Frances, welcome. Yes, step right up, Frances. Thank you so much for being here.
Good evening, the Honorable Mayor John Giles, the council member, their team, and the beautiful citizen of Mesa, a city I love and respect. Yes, I want to share a little bit about this award. This is the most prestigious global award ever. It was given to the city of Mesa, to your wonderful leader, Mayor John Giles, at the Parliament in Germany. We have over 500 European leaders at this event, both on political level, as well as academia, and as well as business leaders. And I have to share with you, it was such an honor and pleasure to walk with your mayor to this space and see how all of these leaders recognized you, your work, your dedication, your commitment. There was 270 countries and places that had applied for this award from 35 countries. It was incredible to see the video of your city and the initiative that you've done over the years, and for the entire 500 leaders of Europe to applaud you again and again. I have to tell you, as someone, some of you know, who loves this city, who loves this leadership, and who loves what you've done, and the commitment that each and every one of you have to each other, to your city, and to Arizona as a whole. It was an absolute pleasure to see that and to be part of that. So on behalf of Senate of Economy of Europe, I am an economic senator myself, on behalf of United Nations, and on behalf of collective humanity, I want to thank each and every one of you, your amazing leader, and the beautiful citizen of Mesa, and congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for being a role model in the world, and congratulations for your very meaningful award from the United Nations. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Francis, I'm going to invite you to join us, and we'll take a photo. We brought the award photo to commemorate it, and I don't know if you caught that. Francis is one of the senators that was in this legislative body that presented this award, so we appreciate you being here very much, Francis. Thank you. You hold that. Okay. All right, here we go. Thanks again.
Congratulations.
You bet. Appreciate you. You're great.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item on our agenda is approving the consent agenda. We'll invite Mr. Kevin Christopher to come forward to read the consent agenda. Kevin, I think you know we have several items that have been removed from the consent agenda. Let me just make sure that you and I are on the same sheet. Okay. 4A, B, C, and F are off. 5, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay, 5C. 8, B and A.
Yep.
And 11A. Oh, 11A was already off. That's the public hearing on the annexation, right?
All right, good evening, Mayor and council members. These are the items on the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk will be considered as a group by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless a council member or citizen requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered as a separate item. Item 2, approval of minutes of previous meetings is written. Item 3A, act on liquor license application for Echo Karaoke, 1844 West Broadway. Item 3B, act on liquor license application for K-Town, 1832 West Broadway. Item 3C, act on liquor license application for La Famiglia Pizza and Pasta, 1839 West Guadalupe Road. Item 3D, act on liquor license application for Pizza Mart, 1329 East Main Street. Item 3E, act on liquor license application for Hot Dogs Los Maitos, 330 South Gilbert Road. Item 3F, act on liquor license application for the Stonehouse, 6910 East Hampton Avenue. Item 3G, act on liquor license application for Steadfast Diner, 5149 South Inspirion Parkway. Items 4A, 4B, and 4C have been removed from the consent agenda. Item 4D, approving 5-year term contract for solid waste disposal processing for the Solid Waste Department. Item 4E, approving dollar limit increase for the term contract for refuse truck body repair services for the Fleet Services Department. Item 4F has been removed from the consent agenda. Item 4G, approving 6-month extension and dollar limit increase for the term contract for automobile dealers' eligibility list for citywide departments, as requested by the Fleet Services Department. Item 4H, approving dollar limit increase for the term contract for slurry seal emulsion for the Transportation Department. Item 5A, approving resolution adopting and publishing the City of Mesa 2050 Transportation Master Plan as a guiding document regarding the vision for transportation investment and policy in the City of Mesa. Item 5B, approving resolution to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Valley Metro Rail for safety and security services for light rail vehicles, park and rides, and other related buildings located within the City of Mesa. Item 5C has been removed from the consent agenda. Item 5D, approving resolution authorizing the sale of the real property and improvements located at 6030 South Kent Street and 6035 South Kent Street, known as AZ Labs. Item 5E, approving resolution extinguishing a portion of 3 separate 20-foot easements and facilities easements located at 6131 East Southern Avenue to allow for expansion of an existing Walmart. Item 6A, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-15 for property located near the northeast corner of Higley Road and Main Street. Rezone with bonus intensity zone overlay and site plan review to allow for a multiple residence development. Item 6B, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-752 for property located near the northeast corner of Banner Gateway Drive and Greenfield Road. Rezone with plan area development overlay and site plan review to allow for a multiple residence development. Item 6C, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 23-970 for property generally located near the intersection of Mesa Drive and 2nd Avenue. This is for a rezone and site plan review to allow for multiple residence development. Item 6D, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-745 for property located near the northwest corner of Southern Avenue and Country Club Drive. Major site plan modification for development of a limited service restaurant with a drive-through facility. Item 6E, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-711 for property generally located west of Wrecker Road and Thomas Road. Rezone with plan area development and bonus intensity zone overlays and a site plan review to allow for an industrial development. Item 6F, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-636 for property generally located east of McDowell Road and Higley Road. Major site plan modification and council use permit to allow for expansion of an existing mini storage facility. Item 6G, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-656 for property located at the northwest corner of Pecos Road and South Mountain Road. Major site plan modification and amending condition of approval at number 1 for zoning case 15-24 to allow for expansion of an existing manufacturing plant. Item 6H, introduction of ordinance for zoning case 24-426 for property located near Superstition Springs Boulevard and Southern Avenue. Major site plan modification and amending condition of approval number 1 for zoning case 99-43 to allow for a service station. Item 7A, approving ordinance or proposed amendments to chapters 6, 7, 8, 81, and 87 of Title 11 of the Mesa City Code pertaining to adaptive reuse. Item 7B, approving ordinance for proposed amendments to chapters 67 and 87 of Title 11 of the Mesa City Code pertaining to residential zoning application review timeframes. Item 7C, approving ordinance repealing Mesa City Code Title 8, Chapter 1 in its entirety and adopting a new replacement Mesa City Code Title 8, Chapter 1 titled Backflow Prevention and Cross-Connection Control. Item 7D, approving ordinance for zoning case 23-859 for property generally located south of Southern Avenue and west of Alma School Road, rezoned to allow for the Fiesta-defined mixed-use development. Items 8A and 8B have been removed from the consent agenda. Item 9A, approving ordinance for zoning case 24-474 for property located south of Pecos Road and west of Crisman Road, rezoned with a plan area development overlay and site plan review to allow for an industrial development. Item 9B, approving resolution to enter into a development agreement with Komatsu America Corporation and Sunbelt Mesa Ellsworth related to design, construction, and dedication of right-of-way for the intersection of Crisman Road and Pecos Road. Item 10A, approving subdivision plat for map of dedication for Destination at Gateway for property generally located south of Williamsfield Road and east of Signal Butte Road. And as discussed at the study session, this is correcting East Gatewood Auto Drive to East Gateway Auto Drive. Mayor and council members, these are the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher. Holly, do we have any other requests to speak on an item that's on the consent agenda? Okay, thank you. And I think we made all of those, we pulled all of those already. Council, we have a motion. I'm sorry, we're adjusting to new technology. A motion made by Councilmember Spilsbury, seconded by Councilmember Summers for approval of the consent agenda. Please vote. That passes unanimously. All right, the first item off of the consent agenda that we will speak to will be item 4A. Item 4A regards Pecos Road and storm drainage improvement, pre-construction services, and a construction manager at risk. This relates to regional drainage improvements to approximately 3 miles of Pecos Road. I have a request to speak on this, and I apologize. I'm sure I'm saying this incorrectly. I think it's Spenny or Sparky Allison? Sunny. I'm sorry, Sunny. Please come up and have a stand right in front of the microphone, please.
May I pass on 4C and go directly to 4A, go directly to 4C?
Right now, we're doing 4A.
I'll pass it.
So you want to speak on 4C? Okay, thank you. All right, well, 4A has been pulled. So is there a motion for approval of, council, any discussion on 4A? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and initiate a motion and a second for 4A. And all right, I see that Councilmember Spilsbury's made that motion, seconded by Councilmember Summers. Please vote. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Just checking to see if 4B is off consent. Pretty sure it is. Okay, so 4B is the use of a cooperative contract for a one-year term and with a one-year renewal option for unmanned aerial systems, remotely operated devices, and related goods and services for the Mesa Police Department. We have a request to speak on this item by Alex Van Nichek. Alex?
Mayor?
Yes.
That's probably incorrect. I'm for 4C, 4E, 4F, and 4G.
Okay, I'm sorry. It looks like a B to me, so.
Okay. Handwriting.
All right, no problem. All right, thank you. Is there a motion to, any council discussion on this item? All right, is there a motion made by Councilmember Summers, seconded by Vice Mayor Heredia? Please vote. Thank you, that passes unanimously. Oh, wait, I did have another card on item 4B. Melody Whetstone. Melody, are you here? Melody, I apologize. Please come up. I think you wanted some additional information on this agenda item? I do. Okay.
Mayor,
Welcome.
council members, how are you?
Good.
So I wasn't really planning to talk, but I do need some clarification on that regarding the mini drones and the regular drones. The mini drones, I understand that, but the regular drones, the larger ones that is. So according to the documentation that came with it, it talked about for events and that sort of thing, but is there anything else that they were planning on using that for?
Great. We had a good presentation on this from our police department a week ago. Chris, should we? Yeah.
City.
So in neighborhoods or just events?
Wherever there's a
parades?
police call, that the drone can get there, yes.
So basically, the drones are going to be used, if it's in a neighborhood, it's going to go down into the homes and being able
Well,
to see.
it'd be like, it's to think of it as like our helicopters today. Now we'll just have drones. They'll get there before our patrol officers get there to be able to have eyes on the incident and be able to direct our police officers about the incident, what's taking place.
Okay. And don't we have something like that now?
Not first responder drones. We have some today that they have to be, someone has to actually stand on the roof at the police department and watch that drone and have eyes on it the entire time.
Okay. And then what would this particular drone?
Again, it'll be released remotely from someone in our real-time crime center.
From within a building to be able to see that, as opposed to being on top of the roof like you mentioned?
Okay, I want to make sure I'm being clear. When you say
So where
today,
would the police officer actually be?
the police officer will most likely be someone in our real-time crime center. So it's an enclosed area where they view cameras, hundreds of cameras, and they include drones. These drones now can be deployed by someone in the real-time crime center.
Okay. And what is the likelihood of any of these drones getting shot down?
I mean, it could happen today. We use drones today. That hasn't been a problem. It provides safety and security and response for our police officers.
Okay, and then what about the maintenance of the drones and that sort of thing, cost-wise?
Yeah, no, it's all included here. There's cities in the valley already using these, and so this is the latest technology in fighting crime.
Okay. That clarified it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Melody. Item 4C, I'm sorry, we already voted on 4B.
Yeah.
4C, 4C deals with, this is a dollar limit increase to the term contract for hardware supplies and related city services, essentially allowing us to go to Home Depot to purchase equipment, I believe. We have two requests to speak. Mr. Allison, Sonny, I got your name right this time. Okay. It's a good day to be called Sparky. Congratulations to the ASU football team. Yeah. All right, following Sonny, Alex, you'll come up.
I live at 6545 East Adobe Street. I don't understand, I'm assuming that you put this out for contract or bid as Home Depot and any of the other hardware stores in the city of Mesa? Is that correct?
We can have staff respond to that. Anything else you'd like us to respond? Give us your questions and
My
concerns.
question is,
Yeah.
why Home Depot and why not Nan's
Okay.
Ace Hardware on Gilbert or out at Bash's on Power Road? That's
Great.
my question.
Okay,
All
good
right.
question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brady, who should respond to this?
Mr. Quedens, are you here?
So am I done here?
Yes, unless you have any other questions.
No, that's fine.
Okay, but we'll respond to your question, staff will, and then you let us know if that you like it. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This item is a purchase against using a cooperative contract issued by Maricopa County. We have in the past, and this is for hardware. This doesn't include home goods, that kind of thing that you would find at a grocery store. We have in the past issued a solicitation ourselves, and Lenhart's was not at that time able to respond to the RFP and become a participant in the contract. So we haven't done that in a while, but this is a cooperative contract.
And so, Ed, when you say cooperative contract, it means another entity, governmental entity, following the same procurement rules that we would employ. In this case, Maricopa County went out through a public process, came back with pricing. We were able to look at and adjoin that contract to our advantage.
Exactly.
All right, thank you. So we're participating in the Maricopa County contract that was competitively bid.
That is correct, sir.
Yes, Mr. Freeman has a question.
So Ed, just for clarification, when we go out to bid, I think that was Sparky's, one of his questions was, congratulations. How do we get a bid RFP process? Do we advertise that? And so any, let's say wholesale or retail provider can do the construction services like Home Depot?
So when Mesa puts it out, yes, we use our bid lists, we make those notifications, and all those places that we make notifications. Maricopa County does a similar process, yes.
So do we use Mesa businesses for this procurement?
So Maricopa County did this one.
Okay.
So whoever's on Maricopa County's distribution list and wherever they advertise it, they would have been notified, yes.
And so this would be Home Depot, and so consequently, we'd probably go to Home Depot's in Mesa?
Yes.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I don't know if that helps Sparky at all, but that was one of my.
I'm wondering why you would not be more supportive of local hardware stores in Mesa as opposed to a corporate entity, Home Depot.
Okay, thank you. We also have a request to speak on this item, I believe, from Alex.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'm here to speak on item 4C. Last week, we heard that the city, under your management, was financially responsible, but also needed another 30 million utility rate increases. Otherwise, the sky was falling and the fire and police were in jeopardy. Last week, Councilmember Summers said that we have a lot of work to do and we need to look at ways to slow down spending. Also, last week, Councilmember Goforth said that she is a low-tax, small government conservative. Let's put this to the test here on 4C. The city wants to increase the spending limit for Home Depot by $200,000. You already increased the spending limit by $100,000 this past September 26th. I understand the cost of everything has gone up, and I do not want you to think that I am being unreasonable. So I ask you to demonstrate to us that you do challenge staff by making a motion and having a second to change the increase from $200,000 to $100,000. Show us how the city has spent the increased limit, and if you need more, come back to us to discuss another increase. Thank you.
Mayor, let me be very clear, because I don't want anybody to hear what they heard and believe it. There is not a 30% increase in utility rates. There's not a 30%. We've covered this in multiple meetings. So first of all, there's not a 30%, okay? 30%, if you want to find a 30% increase, go to the town of Gilbert. Here, it's 5% and it's $5.
Thank you. Speaking to this increase, so that the spending limitation is being increased, but the spending can be no more than.
It can only be more than what's budgeted, right? So the council always put those constraints on the budget. So we're not asking for the budget to be increased. It's just this procurement needs to be increased. So departments are already restricted to stay within their budgets that have been approved by the council.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so again, we're going to entertain a motion and a vote on agenda item 4C. Council, any additional discussion on this item? All right. We have a motion for approval made by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilmember Spilsbury. Please vote. Thank you. Agenda item 4C passes unanimously. Next, we have agenda item 4F. This is a 3-month extension and dollar limit increase to the term contract for light duty and police vehicle maintenance and repair services for the Fleet Services Department. We have a request to speak from Alex.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm here to speak on item 4F. Last week, we heard the city, under your management, was financially responsible, but also needed another 30 million utility rate increases. Otherwise, the sky was falling and our police and fire were in jeopardy. Last week, Councilmember Summers said that we have a lot of work to do and we need to look at ways to slow down spending. Also last week, Councilmember Goforth said that she is a low-tax, small government conservative. Let's put that to the test on 4F. The city wants to increase the spending limit for fleet services for maintenance of 1,200 light utility vehicles from $800,000 to $1.3 million. That is a $500,000, $500,000. I understand the cost of everything has gone up, and I do not want you to think that I am being unreasonable. So I ask you to demonstrate to us that you do challenge staff by making a motion and having a second to change this increase from $500,000 to $200,000. Show us how the city has spent that increased limit, and if you need more, come back to us to discuss another increase. I do understand that you do not have to go to the limit. That is the limit. And so once you demonstrate to us that you can be responsible with our finances for the city, and then come back, and if you need more, make the case. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So, Mayor, on 4F, what's happening here is we are under evaluation for additional contract to maintain police vehicles. We need to get those police vehicles back out on the street so they can be used by our patrol officers. This has become a challenge for us to keep the maintenance of vehicles and keep more vehicles out on the street so we're not having to double up, and that will help us provide better public safety coverage. What's happening is we are going through a evaluation of a new contract for these same services. But we need more time to go through that process, to review the proposals that are in front of us. While we're doing that, we still need to maintain police vehicles. And so as such, all we're asking for is take the existing contract and extending it. This isn't adding more money to the budget. It's not costing us more money. These are dollars that would have been spent on a new contract. We're just, instead of being able to go into a new contract right now, we're spending more, or continuing to extend the existing contract until we can get a new contract in place. But in the meantime, we don't want to have to stop maintaining patrol vehicles and not letting them get out on the street. So this is our recommendation as to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. I also have a card to speak on this item that I was just handed from Karina Cadlick. Karina.
Good afternoon. I'd like to make a comment in regards to his reply on the money and the budget for this contract. Contract 2020-083 originally started at the amount of $280,000, and supposed to be for a 3-year contract, renewable every 2 years. So far to date, as of April 20th, 2024, it's gone to $1,300,000 in spendings for that contract. Looking for, as you might state, you're looking for a new contract to happen. Well, you've had every 2 years since 2020 to find somebody to fill this contract. Now, as far as spending is concerned, if we're trying to cut back, and I don't by no necessarily mean cut back, but I know that there are 1,200 vehicles is what the contract is for the police, but I understand that. We have our own, City Mesa has their own fleet department that are supposed to be fixing these vehicles. Not taking away from the business owners who the contract is now through, and because they're small business owners in Mesa, but I'm just saying, what's the sense of having our own fleet division to fix the vehicles, and yet they're not using that division? And that would be my question to you, is how can we yet better spend our money, or if we have our own division to do it, but yet we're contracting out?
So Mayor, once again, we are not increasing the budget amount. We're just increasing these contract amounts while we procure the next contract. And by the way, the existing businesses, Larry H. Ford, a Mesa business. Thompson Auto Repair, a Mesa business. Friendly Auto Centers, a Mesa business. So most of these, and it's an increase in the contract to provide these services, not an increase. We're not asking more money. The budget isn't changing. There's not any savings here. It's just the contract has expired. We either reached the limit or the term is up. So we need to extend it while we continue to maintain vehicles. But it doesn't change our budget. We're not here asking for a revision in the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Council discussion.
So, Mr. Brady, what is the answer of, we have a fleet services that also do
Sure,
trucks, they just
but
can't keep up with everything?
We don't have a fleet service that can handle all these vehicles.
Right, so we need outside
We use a
services.
lot of maintenance, the things that we can do and turn around very quickly, maybe some warranty work, a little bit of body work, but we need to have this additional work that we can send out. And so that's our way of balancing meeting the needs of the police department.
And I imagine that saves us in the end,
Oh,
contracting out third-party contracts
sure.
rather than
Bring all
hiring
that
more
staff in,
staff.
Because otherwise, we're going to be, yes, we are going to come to a budget and
Yes.
ask for a significant increase and adding personnel and facilities. We don't even have the facilities to be able to absorb this much work.
Thank you.
Mr. Summers.
Mr. Brady, I assume this contract extension is through April 30, 25?
You have the advantage on me. Let me see, what does it say?
So look at the, well, it's, yeah, that's what I'm getting. You're talking about the first page, ma'am? Yeah. Under recommendations?
Recommendation is that they hire somebody to go over the contract.
Yeah, correct.
Within the time allowed, to be able to find somebody to handle these services, because my understanding is they don't have anybody on top of managing their contracts within the time period for this budget.
So again, this
I'm
is
just trying to-
You're correct. It should be 25. Should be
Yeah,
April
so
25.
under recommendation, it says April 24.
Yeah,
That should
the
be
typo, it
25.
should be 25.
Yeah. And so,
And hopefully, before then, we'll come with the new contract.
okay. and
Again,
with-
not asking for a budget increase. Nobody's asking for more money. We're just administratively trying to extend this contract while we get the new contracts on board.
Okay, and will the new contract likely be in next year, the 2025, 26 budget?
Mike, how
what we're
much
looking at?
time do you need to get this done? Till April, before April will be done? 3 months. 3 months, we'll have back the new contract for you.
Okay, and then it has to come through approval?
Yeah, we'll come back to council, of course.
Thank you.
So if we anticipate this actually being done by April of 2024, do we need to make any?
25.
25.
Well, I'm sorry, 25. So we need to note for the record that there's a typo in the agenda.
You say that? Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
25.
okay.
That's fine.
All right. Other council discussion on this? All right, let's entertain a motion for agenda item 4F. We have a motion made by Councilmember Spilsbury, seconded by Vice Mayor Heredia. Please vote. That passes unanimously. Next item off the consent agenda is agenda item 5C. 5C is recommend approval of a locally preferred alternative extending Streetcar East on Rio Salado Parkway from the current streetcar terminus at Marina Heights to Dobson Road, south on Dobson Road, terminating at Main Street. We do have several requests to speak on this item. Now, we'll hear these in the order in which they were submitted. First, and each of you will have 3 minutes. Please step forward, and I'll kind of say who's the following speakers so you can kind of get ready and queue up. First, we'll hear from Stephanie Wright, followed by Tim Boyle. Stephanie? Welcome, Stephanie. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Mayor and council, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Stephanie Wright. I live at 660 North Date in Mesa. I'm here not only to speak in opposition to the streetcar expansion in Northwest Mesa, but also to pay tribute to Mr. DeMontague, who has been my neighborhood wingman since 1993 when the city of Mesa put forth the Building a Healthier Mesa initiative. And I talked Dee into getting involved along with other people and the city to work in the Carson Junior High boundaries. Our neighborhood group started formally working on the streetcar issue in February of this year, along with our general plan meetings, while also discussing the transit-oriented development plan, which encompasses approximately a half a mile on either side of Rio Salado and Dobson Road. In April, we met with the transit-oriented development folks, and then in June, DeMontague wrote an email which was presented to our neighborhood group. and was presumably sent to you, Mayor Giles, and the City Council. And because he's no longer with us, for me to verify that it was sent, I brought it with me tonight. But if you know Dee, his emails were very lengthy. And so what I'd like to do, he had 8 points in his email that we as a group decided were our concerns. First, traffic disruption and public inconvenience, impact on crime and social issues, financial concerns, economic impact, last mile problems, future transportation trends, environmental considerations, and alternatives to light rail. Dee concluded this email with the following: the rise of electric vehicles and alternative transportation innovations present more adaptable, cost-effective, and less intrusive alternatives. A more prudent approach would involve enhancing current transportation services and embracing emerging technologies to meet Mesa's evolving transportation needs. And if it's all right, later on, I can always forward this email to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. And those of us who knew Dee certainly join you in that. We're going to miss him terribly. Tim Boyle, followed by Barbara Parker.
My name is Tim Boyle. I live at 450 North Emerson in Mesa. I'm an architect. I'm a professor at ASU's planning school. I was a former professor at Columbia's planning school. I lived in New York. I know transit systems. I love transit systems. I have great memories of that. And I, as an ASU professor with 2 kids at ASU, I see the public transit, we'll go Sparky first, but I see the public transit system working wonderfully in Tempe, but I don't see it working here. When transit systems are proposed, we need to know that they come with challenges, and everyone who's going to participate in them needs to know those challenges. My neighborhood saw a dramatic increase in crime after the light rail system was built, or as it was called in the study session, a perceived increase in crime. One of the reasons we perceived this increase in crime was that when my mom and her sister were taking the light rail to a concert, they were shot at from the Circle K. That's where our perception comes from. There's an additional perception. When you see the police reports from the time when the light rail opens, you see that crime goes up 150% for the approximate 10 years before COVID shuts it down. That's where the perceived rise in crime goes. We were given a lot of information in the groups, the studies that were done with the people. These were inaccurate. This one said that originally there were 79% of all households in the area. Turned out there were actually 58%. This was corrected in an email to me, and I believe that was sent to you. I don't believe this was corrected to the neighborhood meetings, the block meetings. If it was, I wasn't invited to those meetings. There's another error in the maps that were displayed during the public outreach, saying that there were people living in the Mesa Riverview area and people living in the Fry's-Evett corridor right through here. The maps are inaccurate. If inaccurate information is presented to the public, that needs to be corrected to the public in the same manner that it was given the first time. Given this, I ask that you postpone selecting the route until Mesa's residents are given correct information about how many people need public transit and what the effect on crime will be in new public meetings. This should happen the same number of times and in the same location that they were the first time. Then you as a council can get the neighbors' feedback on accurate information. As many of you are my good friends, I know you feel like accurate information should be given to all neighbors prior to a massive decision like this being made. If it was important enough to present the first time, it's just as important to correct it. If all the money awarded for the original study up till now has been spent, then I believe we missed our shot. We shouldn't spend millions more on an additional study after the original was terribly flawed, because that's rewarding bad behavior. The public process and democracy work wonderfully when accurate information is presented to everyone whom it will affect. Please respect this process by voting against this item.
Thank you, Tim. Next we have, I'm sorry, folks, I appreciate the jazz hands, thank you. just to make sure that this is a welcoming environment for everyone, we don't allow loud demonstrations of support. It was a great presentation, worthy of applause, no doubt, but give us some jazz hands if you want to let Mr. Boyle know how you feel. Barbara Parker, followed by David Winstanley.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor-elect, City Council. My name is Representative Barbara Parker, Legislative District 10, and I represent 250,000 of your residents as constituents as well. I live in Northeast Mesa, and I am standing in respectful opposition to Agenda Item 5C, which is to expand the Tempe streetcars. In your own report, which I have here, you're stating that you need to connect light rail to make Mesa like Tempe for your 2050 plan. The report does state, and your recommendation was made to you in the report, that you can delay this or absolutely not approve it. It states here that you can delay it or not approve it. I am requesting that you do not approve it. It may be said that this is federal dollars and it won't cost the citizens anything. I do want to remind people where federal tax dollars come from. They come from your citizens. It's going to be pulling down $500 million from your citizens' taxes to pay for 4.4 miles, and I repeat, for only 4.4 miles, and the millions of dollars are to force the citizens to live in high-density, 15-minute cities, which create years of contention, stating it's to reduce contention. It destroys the homeowners' properties values, it destroys small businesses. When these federal tax dollars dry up, you will come back again and say you need to make a utility rate tax again, like last week, to repair, to maintain these cute San Francisco cable cars that no one will ride. This will waste the taxpayers' money in perpetuity. It costs less to pave over the current light rail than it does to maintain it because you are not capturing fare. You have no plans to capture fare, and you're going to be forced to capture fare because 479 states that you're going to have to do it by 10% every year. Now, you won't cut bloated top-heavy departments, but you want streetcars. When, and I quote, less than 1% of all of Arizona residents ride mass transit. Less than 1% ride it, and less than 0.2% of all commuters ride it. So you're going to increase utilities last week to pay to run our city, to increase your salaries, to attract good people to run so that they can vote, to increase more taxes and more rates for failed, costly infrastructure projects, which we affectionately know them as money-sucking, crime-ridden, moving urinals on wheels for the homeless. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Please, we appreciate your enthusiasm. Please don't be disruptive. David Winstanley, followed by Mary Bueno. May Bueno.
For the speakers up here, we can't see the timer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let you know when, I'll give you a
I'm sure
shout-out.
you would, but
Yeah.
it's sometimes, anyway.
We'll work on that. I think that, see that little black box in front of you? I think the plan is that it was supposed to be running on that piece of.
It's not visible here.
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Oh, now it is. Whoops.
There it
It
goes.
was.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
I
All
think
right, got
you
it
and I
now.
have the same. It's up
I see
now,
it.
right?
Okay, yes, I
Okay,
can.
thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, esteemed council members, city staff. My name is David Winstanley, and I live in Southeast Mesa and near Eastmark in Councilman Summers' district. Nice tie, by the way. You should maybe make a Bolo version for Mayor-elect.
I'll have go with your 3 minutes, please.
I am also the chairman of your Transportation Advisory Board, and I serve at the pleasure of the mayor. I do need to state that I am here representing myself as a citizen and an individual member of the TAB, not speaking for the board as a whole. The presentation you received last Thursday on this subject had some statistics that were not in the Transportation Advisory Board presentation. A 55% population growth in the study zone, and a 58% of that population had 0 to 1 automobiles. Along the Dobson Road corridor, really? 55% increase in population can only happen in a massive vertical high-density housing because the area is fully developed and landlocked. Similarly, the study area contains large numbers of apartments with ASU students, explaining the statistics. Do we need to pay for ASU students to have transit? I ask, are you as council members aware that the transit plan includes need scores for various projects and that this score gives a higher weight to other factors such as service, equity, and affordable housing than to expected increases in population or increases in employment? This became clear during the TAB presentations. The subject at hand, the extension of the streetcar line from Tempe into Mesa, was driven in part by these transit need scores. For the presentations given to both TAB and the council, it is clear that the streetcar was a foregone conclusion. No serious alternatives were given for West Mesa. Rather, only alternative routes for streetcar were considered. Is the cost of installing rail into Mesa streets really justified for Mesa residents? Will there be an adequate return on investment for this cost to Mesa? I asked for this analysis during the TAB presentations and was told that Valley Metro would come back and present it. To date, they have not. While you may argue that saying yes to this it will be no cost to Mesa, we learned last week that city council members sometimes vote in favor of cost increases in order to stay with the plan or support the system. So this decision cannot wait on the results of the study, especially if it does not include substantial, realistic alternatives. I respectfully ask that you vote no on approving the local preferred alternative and ask city staff to go back and work with Valley Metro and Maricopa Association of Governments to come back with more cost-effective alternatives for transit in West Mesa, for West Mesa residents. Thank you.
Thank you, David, and thank you for your service on the Transportation Advisory Board. Mary Maybeno, followed by Norm Sendler.
Hello. I'm Mary Maybeno. I live off of Wrecker Road and Brown Road. Tempe right now has a streetcar system. The proposed streetcar extension from Tempe to Rio Salado to Dobson to Main Street apparently is required for projects to obtain funding through the Federal Transit Administration Capital Investment Grant Program. Adopting a locally preferred alternative, abbreviated LPA, is essential to pursuing this federal grant. Apparently MAG, which is the Maricopa Association of Governments, has had this in its regional transportation plan for the years 2031 to 2035, with an estimated cost of close to $403 million. Also, so everyone here knows, besides Dobson Road, they have plans for Southern Avenue and Country Club Drive as future high-capacity transit corridors. Will car lanes be sacrificed because of this? I know you're going to say this item doesn't construct a streetcar extension or allocate funds, but let's not be disingenuous. Allowing Mesa to utilize federal funds to determine viability of this project is just the next step in accomplishing this goal of transforming Mesa into a high-capacity transit nightmare, turning parts of our lovely city into a bunch of rail tracks and overhead wires. Putting this rather bluntly, Main Street in downtown Mesa is really ugly, with its railway tracks and overhead wires intersecting everywhere and a pain to navigate, as opposed to the quaint downtowns of Gilbert and Scottsdale. Those are really cute. Now, your streetcar proposal is going to be putting more and more rail tracks and overhead electric wires on more and more streets. Tempe is different from Mesa. We don't want to turn Mesa into a Tempe version of itself. I moved to Mesa because I didn't want to live in a high-density, crowded Tempe. We do not want you to approve the LPA streetcar at this time. Mesa is not Tempe. And by the way, I've never heard anyone say, boy, I'd sure like to see a mass transit system all over Mesa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Norm Sendler, followed by Jonathan Bush. You can come and check with the clerk, sir. Did you turn in a blue card? Are you Norm? Oh, I'm sorry, Norm. I had you down. Oh, yes, there's a zoning. Oh, you're on the annexation. I apologize. Thank you. That's going to be agenda item 11A, and so you're coming up. Okay, thank you. We'll note that. Then we're going to have Jonathan Bush followed by Jeannie Fasanella.
Hello. Hello, my name is John Bush, and I live at 132 East Brown.
Welcome, John. Keep your eye on this little box, so you know you have 3 minutes.
Will do, Mayor.
Thank you.
I live in Mesa and work in Tempe, and a recently constructed office tower at University and Rural. This is part of the Novus Innovation Corridor. When my company moved into this space in 2020, I got curious and looked up all the other buildings that would be part of the same innovation corridor, and it was a wonderful plan. Big office buildings, hotels, restaurants, apartments, grocery stores. When I think about this streetcar project in the context of all the other great things happening in Mesa and Tempe, I get really excited. I think of all the ways students and workers in these new areas of our neighboring city can live and shop in Mesa. Students and workers can find cheap places to live in ADUs, which were recently made legal in the single-family neighborhoods, and some of those ADUs can bring extra income for working-class homeowners. Our Asian district, spring training facilities at Riverview Mall can be connected with world-class transit, and I'm excited for the great economic opportunities for large and small businesses alike. I'm excited for the opportunities for Mesa and Tempe to grow together, and I'm in support of the streetcar extension, but would like to see a different final alignment going through the Riverview Mall. I hope you will vote yes on this LPA and continue to support the project in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Jeannie Fansanella, followed by Mark Lavender.
All right. Hello, Council. My name is Jenny Fasanella. I live at 1901 West University Drive, and I am here to tell you about my excitement for the extension of the streetcar. I am part of the 58% of people that are 0 to 1 car owner. I have been for pretty much the entire time that I've lived in Mesa, including when I lived at the Riverview Townhomes on Riverview and Dobson for 5 or 6 years. I take Valley Metro to work very frequently and enjoy my time. I'm really excited to see connection between Tempe Marketplace and something closer to Riverview. And also just to increase the amount of connections between transit and the city, because the more places that the transit can take you to and the more places, the closer that you can get on and ride the transit, the more likely you are to use it, the more that your ridership will go up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Mark Lavender, followed by DJ Stapley.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for listening to us all last week with the utility rate debate, as I like to call it. Real quick, I grew up as a well-traveled child back in the 70s, and I went through cities like, I grew up in Atlanta. Grandma lived in Little Rock. I went to New Orleans on a vacation. Then I ended up moving to Albuquerque, and all these cities had railroad track in the middle of their downtown. And I was like, but it was never used. And I was like, what's going on with this track here? And I was told that, oh yeah, that back in the day, we used to have a trolley. It used to run through town and take people around. But you know, after World War II and people started coming home and people started getting in cars, we ended up foregoing the trolley. So we just drive on the tracks now and ignore it. So I was like, okay. So my point is that this sounds more like regress than progress. It's like we're going back 100 years in technology compared to what we should be doing and making Mesa car friendly. And I would go ahead and also go another step further. As I went to one of these meetings last summer, and I can tell you, at least at my meeting, and I've heard at others, that nobody in Mesa wants this thing. They don't want it. They're tired of construction. We've been under construction with the fiber optic cables forever and a day. And I think we just need to work on making Mesa a little bit more car friendly. The other thing is I've also talked to people who are proponents of this, and I say, hey, why not just use streetcar buses like Tempe's Orbit system as opposed to laying permanent track? And their contention was, well, development will follow the permanent track. And I'm like, development following the permanent track? You mean like the development that has gone from Mesa Drive out to Gilbert Drive? We basically created an economic black hole between those 2 points, right down Mesa's very own main street with the light rail. So I don't believe that argument either. The other thing is that, I've heard the argument that this is basically for free or that at a substantial reduced cost, we're getting a federal grant. My issue with that is that taking money from the federal government is almost like taking money from your mother-in-law. There's always a strings attached. We're going to spend Christmas at my house this year, or I can't, things like that. There's always going to be something attached to that money we get from the federal government. And then one last thing, and this is what I want to close with, is that when the consultants came and did this business of, the community meeting, they had a logo of their, I can't believe I'm getting a phone call right now. Anyway, they had a logo of a car with a big circle around it and a line through it, like no more cars. And I'm going to tell you, they are very, very wrong on that. Cars are one of the biggest things that take people out of poverty and into prosperity. Cars enable people to have opportunity they wouldn't otherwise have. In fact, a study that was done by the Housing and Urban Development indicated...
Mark, your time is up, so if you can wrap it up.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Indicated that cars, people who, I'm going to just give a small study on this, just a small part of this, but cars, not only do cars take people to opportunity, but people who have cars are twice as likely to find a job and 4 times as likely to remain employed. So if we care about the most vulnerable people in our society, we should fight for individual car ownership, and let's make Mesa friendly to cars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Jen, John, again, folks, please, you can't make noise. Jen Jondak, followed by John Demko.
And we have Tim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
DJ.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, DJ. I didn't mean to skip over you. DJ is, we'll go with DJ. DJ, keep your eye on this little box, okay?
Mayor, council members, and staff, thank you for your service. I think there's uncounted time spent this last term. Thank you very much. I request respectfully that this item 5C be denied or delayed to allow staff to spend time. I know they already spend time, but to make it done right and find something that will be tailored to the neighborhoods for these few topics that I think are very important. Number one, the balance of who benefits. The more solid jobs along the corridor in question are in Tempe, near ASU, those corporate buildings, where on the Mesa side, it's mostly housing, Walmart, big box, a little bit of downtown. It's going to benefit Tempe more than it's going to benefit Mesa. The housing will be here, the residents will go to Tempe. Very little the other way around. 2, traffic impacts. I don't know if this study has talked about whether the impacts of even a smaller light rail will reduce traffic counts in front of the Asian corridor businesses. It'd be good to study where their customers are coming from. If it's a regional Asian corridor, are they driving there from Dobson Ranch and Chandler or further? If so, then how would this impact that? How would traffic counts be reduced on Dobson Road, then further east and west on Southern if the door opens for this? Traffic counts along near the Cubs Stadium. How will East Mesa residents get to the Cubs Stadium? There was a suggestion that perhaps a connection to Tempe and Dobson Road occur, but there's already a bus on Rio Salado, and then there's the neighborhood buzz that connects downtown already to Riverview. How would those be affected? Traffic impacts. Economics. How will this affect the economics? I know 2 business owners near the light rail who said after the light rail came, their driving customers reduced, where many businesses, whether professional services or other, are not close enough to the light rail points to get the people in the door as much as they'd like. Cost, others have talked of the cost. We've urged staff to consider other alternatives, including buses and more innovative systems done in other cities. Macro planning impacts are really critical here that I think need to be focused on, not only here, but in all plans. Mesa is and will be 15 miles long, plus East Park and Gateway. When I worked and locally, I tried to get to downtown through Mesa Drive or Country Club. If this were approved, it would open the door to a light rail on Country Club or Mesa Drive. Mesa Drive is very narrow, very dangerous. I've been in 2 accidents there from others hitting me. What are the impacts there of reduced lanes, reduced traffic counts? Remember, we're a suburban city and we're proud of it. And we're urban. We're proud of that too. I respectfully request that this item be denied or delayed until a solution can be done that is tailored to the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, DJ. Next card, I note now says, I do not wish to speak on this item, all right, but it's a card in support of the project from Jen, of the agenda item from Jen Jondak. The last card I have is from John Demko. Welcome, John.
Good evening, Mesa Mayor and Mesa City Council. I'm John Demko, a transit advocate who is studying urban planning for nearly 6 years at Arizona State University, and I want to speak about agenda item 5C about the ready streetcar extension. Yes, I am aware that there is opposition against this extension, especially since with the impacts of crime and whether people will use it, as well as all the federal spending. It could have been money put towards improving the bus services, like making it come more often or solve more places. And I do totally agree with that. So I would like to see a study to see how would enhancing the existing bus services work. But if it still comes to that the streetcar is according to the LPA is the most preferred alternative, then since it's more transit, I am in support of it. And the address for the record, I live on 323 East Veterans Way in Tempe, one of the cities currently served by the streetcar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Those are all the cards I have on this agenda item. Does anyone else wish to be heard on this item? All right, now it's time for council. I'm sorry, did someone raise their hand?
Way in the back.
Hi, come on up. Can we get your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak on this.
Yes, hello, my name is Jen Jondak, and I originally did not expect to speak today.
I'm sorry, I have your card right here, Jen.
Yes, but I have changed my mind. My address is 1023 North Barkley, but before I moved back over to the east side of Mesa, I used to live along the same route that we are planning to add the streetcar. Excuse me. I have heard many people say that nobody is asking for increased transit options in Mesa, but I would like to stand here and tell you that that is not true. I am one of the members of our community who want to advocate for more increased transit options. I work in federal grant funding and management, and I have some inkling of how federal grants work. And I believe that we need to take the opportunity to gain some momentum and continue to apply for grants such as these by using the transit streetcar along Rio Salado as a evidence of success. I understand that there were some issues with previous studies done. I would like to say that my family has several cars. However, I would like to have fewer cars if possible because I do enjoy using public transport to get to work and back. I also happened to work with many people impacted by health problems and disability that make it difficult for them to work and drive, specifically drive. And when I was working with them, the light rail specifically was a great opportunity for them to be able to get out of the house and go to many different places, including Arizona State University, where I was working. So at the very least, please do not completely deny this. I would hope that you either pass it or let it, or shelf it to discuss different routes if necessary. Thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you, Jen. All right, last call on this item. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? Please come up and come to the microphone, please. You didn't fill out a card, right? Okay, that's fine. Just give us your name and your address, please. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Carver Beerson. I live at 1233 North Mesa Drive here in Mesa. My spouse takes the light rail every day, commuting into work and coming home. And the light rail has been a really great option for us here in Mesa to allow us to have that economic opportunity, to allow us to get between the great local businesses in our community. By expanding the streetcar, it creates more connections there, more places that we can access as well. Allows us to connect more of that Asian district to Mesa Riverview and to these other locations in Tempe as well, and move around the area, even without needing to have a car for each of us. So I highly encourage you to support the light rail expansion today.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments? Please step up to the microphone, sir. Your name and address, please.
My name is Jeff Potter. I live at 8449 East Culver Street in Mesa. I hear a lot of individuals here speaking on this, and I would be in opposition to it. I think you can go on the light rail a majority of the days with the baseball bat and swing it around, and you'd be lucky if you hit anybody. I think it's a waste of taxpayers' dollars. I think that the light rail in general was 30 years antiquated even before it was put in. And now you're talking about putting in a even additional, more antiquated system, such as a trolley car service. There's plenty of other things out there, such as the Valley Metro buses that run. And even those, if you're driving down the street and paying attention, a majority of those, you're lucky if there's 5 or 6 people on them, riding them at most times. Not to mention there's other transportation services out there, such as Uber, Lyft, Vivo, plenty of ways to get around in the city of Mesa. I don't think that this is anything but a black hole that will suck money from the taxpayers of the city of Mesa.
All right, thank you very much. Any additional speakers? All right, we'll now shift. Oh, I'm sorry. Please, yes, step up. Your name and address, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Frankie Bauer, and I am in District 6. Nice to see you all again, and thank you for the time. I just have a couple of questions. So my understanding is the construction cost of this is estimated currently at $402,960,000. Is that accurate?
Give us your questions and we'll
Okay, so that's my first question, is if that's accurate. And if we are going to consider moving forward, my ask would be, and maybe this has already been done, so if you guys have the information, that would be great, cost versus reward. So if the cost is going to be $402,960,000, how many people are actually using the rail today, the bus system today? So per citizen, what would be the cost? And also what would be the cost to actually ride the rail? It sounds like it's almost free. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding of the cost versus the reward. That might help us to better determine if this is something that is worth our while or something that we want to pursue.
Great questions. Any others?
Nope, that'll do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, last call. Anybody else want to speak? All right, we'll have council discussion and I'll probably hear from some staff on this. I appreciate those questions. And here's, I'd like to just kind of reset people's expectations and remind people what the actual agenda item is that we're discussing. The vote tonight is not on whether or not we should join the Tempe streetcar. The vote tonight is whether or not we ought to use funds that would have been awarded from the federal government to Tempe and Mesa to study whether or not it's a good idea to go forward with the streetcar. So the vote on whether or not to join that or make a commitment to do that is somewhere between 18 to 24 months away, assuming that we do this study. So you asked some great questions having to do with the cost estimates. Right now, the answer is we don't know. You asked questions about the economic impacts. You know, what potentially would the economic impact to the community be in exchange for this money? That's a great question. We don't know. So the question is, should we do a study to answer those questions? And also, I've had a lot of respect for Stephanie Wright and DJ Stapley and Tim Boyle, who live in this neighborhood and are passionate about this neighborhood. They asked some great questions, and I'm going to summarize what I think they were saying, which is, please don't commit tonight to do this. Please delay it, because we want to get good information and we want you to listen to the neighbors. That's actually what this agenda item is to get information, to talk to the neighbors, to study this. We're not tonight voting on whether or not Mesa ought to be a part of the streetcar, okay? I'm sorry, the public comment's over. That's not what the resolution says. The resolution says to pick an alignment, and to pick an alignment, we do a study to pick an alignment. It says approval of extending. Okay, we'll address that, thank you. All right, so having said that, there's also, I think, some confusion on the technology involved in a streetcar versus a light rail. Streetcar does not take up an additional lane. The track is embedded in the asphalt, so when the streetcar is not there, cars are driving on it. So it is, the capacity is somewhat different. So again, we need to explain to the public with more detail what this would look like compared to what the light rail technology looks like. So, Council, let's open it up for discussion. I know we've got several council members that I'm sure want to address this. Who would like to begin? Julie.
I have more of a question. So this is approving, it's approving a study. I have my mic on, but it doesn't sound like it's on. Can you
We can't hear Julie. Is her mic on?
Oh, went off again. There we go. Okay. I know that it's just a study to explore options, which I already said downstairs. I think the neighborhood and community needs to be super, super involved in this more than they have been. They've been involved. We need the city to do more outreach to them. But we are deciding the route. Is that correct? I don't know if Jody wants to come up or...
Jody's coming up.
I understand what's maybe happened already in the study was the different routes. So this would settle on a route that then we would study further. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the simplest way to put it is what tonight's action is council saying, if streetcar is extended, this is the alignment, this is the route that we would like to see it extended as. So you're saying, if streetcar is extended, we would like to see it extended east on Rio Salado to Dobson, then south on Dobson to Main Street. So that would be the corridor.
And so there's no option to study further down Dobson or down into the Fiesta District or anything like that?
At this time,
not at this
no.
time?
Nope, just stopping at Main Street.
Because I'm not even sure how I feel about streetcar or if it's something we should do. I do think the only way it's going to truly benefit is if it does go down to MCC and the hospital and then goes east on Southern down to the Fiesta District, which is on the cusp of a lot of development and generating a lot of traffic and entertainment area. So, which I think it sounds like we're like 20 years out from even being able to do something that far south. I'm not sure if there's no way, we kind of have to connect into Tempe, right? And then it would have to connect that way. Like there has to be connections or else there's no point in just like plopping down a streetcar somewhere without the connections.
And as a region, we've set, so if you look at from the original 20 miles on light rail, we find that
do extensions based on doable, reasonable amounts. So as actually to kind of minimize impact in one way. And then the other way is what's financially we can max out and capable of doing. So we don't typically do 7 or 8 mile extensions in that. So we break them up into manageable pieces to bite off. That's been our region's kind of MO for the past couple years.
And so to clarify then, it has to connect to the Tempe part and go down to Maine before it could ever connect from Maine going south, correct?
Yes. That's what we would envision, yeah, because we have to connect into Tempe somehow. So this would be the only way to do that.
Okay, because I see tons of potential for the MCC. I mean, the Asian district goes this, all the way up to Southern, or all the way down to Southern, however you want to look at it. But, and as many employees that would be at the hospital and visitors to the hospital and, all of that, I don't need to repeat myself. But it's hard for me to justify this part without that part, although we obviously don't have the money and wouldn't spend it on all of that. But there's no way to even study that then.
We could, so what we did when we were building the light rail extension, the Central Mesa extension through downtown, we started that project. And as we were developing it, we realized a better terminus, a better long-term end of the line was Gilbert in Maine as opposed to Mesa Drive in Maine. So while we were working on the extension through downtown, we started the process to look at extending it further to Gilbert Road. So if that was something as we go through this process that council would want us to look at, we could do that. It wouldn't come out of the federal grant money, but that's something that if that was council's something that they wanted, we could have that conversation and look at that.
Okay. I just want to make one more comment that I think that during construction of the light rail, which this is not light rail, so it's not going to be the same type of situation exactly, but there was maybe some businesses that suffered through that, but I think anyone can drive down Main and see that it's booming and that there's a ton of growth happened, and Main is not a black hole in any sense of the word. So I think I wanted to just make that comment.
Amen. And I know Mr. Heredia has a question for you, but Jody, you asked an excellent question. If you look at the agenda item, it looks like we're approving this alignment. But really the way to read that is we're approving studying this alignment. If we're doing studies of the alignment, what alignment should we study? And this is the alignment that we're studying. And so Jody, last week when we were talking about this, I said, well, what if there's breaking news? What if Riverview or Fiesta Mall says, hey, we've landed a Major League Soccer franchise and we want to build a stadium here. And we're thinking, geez, maybe we should turn left instead of right when we get to Riverview. And we're studying an alignment, and 2 years or 5 years from now, the reality on the ground has changed, and that impacts where we would ideally put a fixed rail transit line. This doesn't put in stone that this is going to be the final alignment, or does it?
We have some flexibility up into a point with this. So we have about that 18 to 24 month period where we have the flexibility to, if something changes in the Riverview area, we can, kind of stop what we're doing, reevaluate, and we would have to go back out and then come back to council to formally adopt another LPA.
We'd change the study.
Right.
But right now, the proposal is this is the alignment that we're going to study.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Heredia.
Yeah, Jody, I think the question was posed on ridership. You mind maybe talking about not just light rail ridership, but I think the importance to understand that in any type of system, we need connection, right? So having things like the neighborhood bus, having Waymo, having these alternatives are important, are not just one piece of that we should put all our chips out on one piece, right? When we talk about transit, the importance of connecting to multiple modes of transportation is I think that's where we want to head into it, especially in an urban area. Not for like I mentioned last week, not everywhere in Mesa makes sense to have this, I think, but in an urban area like we're seeing in Tempe and West Mesa, I think this it makes sense to look at how we can connect people from Tempe to come to the Asian district to shop there, right? That means more sales tax dollars for Mesa, right? And so can you explain just how many riders or maybe people, I think someone from Valley Metro's here, just explain how the transit kind of works and how it connects people to destinations, to placemaking opportunities, to work, to schools, to doctor's appointments, to families, right? So.
Sure. So one part of this study will be looking at the connectivity. How does it connect to pedestrian access, bike access, bus connections, which is why we've taken previous steps to improve our bus service on University and Broadway and added the Fiesta Bus. And all of that is important for what people are taking to. We do have, on the existing light rail alignment, we do have 3 park and rides, but the park and ride at Gilbert and Maine is our highest ridership route. We get a lot of ridership at Country Club and Alma School, and there's no park and ride there. So that people are transferring from the bus to light rail. People are walking and taking their bikes to those stations and transferring to light rail to go to their jobs, to school, to doctor's appointments, all those things. And all of those elements will be part of this next phase in looking at what does that connectivity look like and how can we improve that.
And how many riders do we have a month or yearly, whatever we have on?
I don't have that number off the top.
I think somebody from Valley Metro's here.
Trevor probably has it. He's very prepared.
Because the comments have been made that nobody's riding the light rail, nobody's riding transit, right?
Right.
But we've heard from speakers that people are riding this. You see it across the street. You see it. I operate a small business here on Sycamore, Maine. You see hundreds of people going to the grocery stores on Fry's and Alma School, going back and forth to Tempe and Mesa, going back to wherever they need to be using transit, right? So.
Yeah, but to answer your question, Mayor and Vice Mayor, light rail in the last full fiscal year of '24 carried just over 10 million riders. Streetcar carried 800,000, and then our bus system carries just under 26 million.
Do you have Mesa specific?
We got it, thanks.
Thank you. I don't have Mesa specific, but I will tell you. But I will tell you that all that information is available online. But that's the overall ridership. I apologize if you want to make Mesa specific, yeah. But I will tell you, actually I do. I do have it broken out here. Let's see here. Just light rail, Mesa carries or welcomes 1.8 million of those rides. Now 62% of the light rail systems in Phoenix, 18% in Mesa, and 20% in Tempe. That follows the mileage of those cities. So if you look at the light rail mileage within each of those cities, 60, 20, 20, it's 60, 20, 18. So people use it. The more you provide it, the people will use it.
All right. No, I'm sorry, member, public comment is over. All right, thank you. Council, other questions, comments? Mr. Summers.
It's gonna work. Hey, I can hear my voice. For the city attorney, there was a question asked about whether this was a study, if this route was locked in, if this resolution does pass. And I wonder if we can get an interpretation on the resolution that's in the background, 12312, section 1. Does this lock us into a particular route? Is this approval of a route?
So Mayor and Councilmember Summers, and I'll say something that Jody, sort of variation of what she just said, and she can also provide additional information. It does indicate in the exact languages. It says that council is supporting a preferred alignment, and then it states the alignment that has been stated multiple times. So it is indicating council's adoption or support of that particular alignment. As far as the ability to change it in the future, I think Jody mentioned there is a time frame. Obviously, council can come back with another resolution. I don't know the exact time frame under the federal rules in which you could make that second, I'll say, another resolution to change it. I think Jody indicated it might be around 18 months, but I'd have to kick it back to her for that further explanation.
Yeah, so what the process is so we would go, if you approve this alignment, which it is locking us into an alignment to study, which like we talked about on Thursday, we need a baseline to kind of start with. We would go through that process. We would be flexible to be able to make and adjust up until the point where we came back to you and said, this is kind of the go, no-go decision. So here's where we're at. This is this is what the study found. This is what our ridership estimates are. This is what the adjusted project costs, new estimated project costs would be based on preliminary engineering, which will take us to about 30%, and the environmental work. And then at that point, council would confirm that this is the project to move forward. That's one scenario. Another scenario could be before we got to that point where we would then start applying for federal grants to fund the project. If there was a development that changed in the Riverview area, we could go back, revisit this, and then come back with a different locally preferred option for council to consider.
That would be basically going back through this system.
Right.
Although we do have 11 or 13 studies that have already been done, right?
Yes.
Probably pick from there. That's my only question of comments before the vote, though.
Great. So we have to make a commitment to what route to study so that the study, they can't just study every route in the city of Mesa. So we have to say, here's the route to study.
Yes.
Thank you. Alicia.
Oh, okay, thank you, Mayor, that was clarification. And then what happens, right? So we do the study, Mayor indicated 18, 24 months, and then what?
So we do the study, we would come back to council. We would continue to have these conversations throughout. We would come back to council with, here's the traffic impacts, here's the construction impacts, here's ridership projections, here's the refined project cost, and present all that data to you. And then that would be where you would make a decision to move forward with that project, move forward with it, or to say, you know, we don't think we want to move forward at that point, and then we would stop the project.
Okay, and kind of back to Councilmember Spilsbury's question about having to tap into or extend from Tempe. I mean, that's because it was looked at as a region,
right?
Correct, not just Mesa individually in isolation.
We've never looked at Mesa individually to do some of this. We always, connecting into a regional system is what's going to make this successful, because people want to go different places. So if you want to connect into the region to bring people in, and so people can travel within. So we didn't ever look at just a Mesa specific option.
And do you know that when Tempe studied it originally, was it with in mind extending east into Mesa? Is that kind of how
those conversations, the conversations and the vision of what that would grow into, were taking place during their study process, and have kept ongoing through the years as their system was going through construction and opening.
Let's be clear. I think, this is not a recent discussion about working with Tempe.
No.
This goes back councils ago when we said, hey, there's a possibility they're looking at Streetcar. And at some point, the question was, does Mesa want to consider jointly doing this? So the discussion about this alignment, about going down Rio Salado and Dobson, we've had this discussion multiple times with councils, not regularly, but certainly over periods of time. And then fortunately, I think.
And has it been voted on? Sorry,
the direction has been given, absolutely.
As a vote.
And it's hard because these things are they take such years, long time. And so we could have a discussion that could be 2 or 3 years ago, and now here we are having another discussion.
With a new council.
Yeah, new council. The community has different sentiments about it. So it's not a very continuous stream of processing where we're actively talking about this even every year or certainly every month. And so I think that creates this dilemma. I think at some point, we're trying to set the stage to give the community input even more. What we've heard from council, we need more of that. We need more details and studies so we can answer a lot of the questions that are being asked. about, well, what does this mean? What does the construction look like? We've not done Streetcar in Mesa. And you can't compare it to light rail because light rail wasn't just about light rail. We literally placed all of the infrastructure under the pathway of light rail, especially was going through downtown. We had some historic pipes and storm drains that we needed to replace. I don't know what it looks like here, but I'm pretty sure it's not quite as intense it was. At the end of the day, it's still a significantly costly choice that some council in the future is going to have to decide. But I think what we're saying is here, we're working with Tempe. We've received federal dollars to do more study, to answer some questions. Nothing's permanent. Things happen, right? New developments take place, and we can adjust. But it's a tough question, and part of it is, this council wasn't there when we got probably the last direction to move forward. So this is where we are today.
All right. Alicia, are you done? Okay. Jen.
We just passed our 2050 master transportation plan. And in the mobility goals that are spelled out in the plan, it says Mesa's transportation network is a safe, resilient, efficient, and interconnected multimodal system that supports and strengthens the community and its economy. Also, when I was reading the transportation plan, it was, as far as the public input, number 2 was making public transit a more viable option. That was the number 2 response out from our residents. The number 1 was concerns about congestion and reducing our congestion for cars. And that's what transit does. There's only so much we can do in a given road. And I can say in Dobson Road particularly, we don't have any land to add additional lanes. So all we can do is have some kind of form of transit that carries more people in a smaller space. I was going to make some other point about it that I forgot. So I might come back to that. It kind of reminds me of really LA. When I looked at reading materials about LA and their transportation their system, their freeways, their roads, they didn't want transit for the longest time. They refrained from it, they stopped, no one wanted it. There's several issues, but anyway, the freeways got bigger and wider and wider and wider, and so did the roads. And it got so bad to the point that they can't really move, and if you've been in there, to go from one place to another, just to go a few miles might take an hour. Just to go a couple miles might take an hour. It's horrible. Now, in recent years, they've been implementing transit because they have no other option to move people. I don't want to wait until we're LA in the west part of Mesa, the densest part of Mesa, before we start doing something about it. I don't want to be living in this condition of massive congestion, public safety issues, and people not to have options.
Hey, public comment's over. You're being rude.
People not to have options for their transit. I know a lot of people who say that I'm gonna leave this area. The reason is because I'm a young professional, well-educated. I want to be in an area that I don't have to own a car. I like to live a transit lifestyle. So we're not taking away any cars, we're not doing that. We're just saying, let's allow, there's no lanes being taken away. Let's allow multimodal transport within our city to allow all people, all ages, all abilities, and all incomes to have a transportation choice. Our city is very large. And if you don't want to live in a transit area, we have plenty of areas that don't have, other than maybe a bus stop, don't have rail or streetcar. It's a lifestyle. It's an option in a very dense area. This area is going to grow along Dobson Road at 45% by 2050. We can't accommodate that within the lanes that we have now. We are building for the future. We're not building for what's in the past or even today's current situation. This has been studied since, I think, 2017. There's been studies going back, an immense amount of information and study done at MAG, and before we even got to this point. And for Mesa to be selected for this grant is like amazing to get this far, given the amount of study. It's very difficult to get these grants. And the grant is already awarded. The grant is in Valley Metro's account. It's done. So we can use it all in Tempe and say we don't want transit. But
Folks.
What about all the people that I hear from? What about all the people that responded to our transportation plan? What about the 27,000 people a day that are using the transit in Mesa, the light rail in Mesa? So let's just be a city for all people, all abilities, all alternative ways of getting around the city, not just one, which is cars. I think that's about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Additional comments? Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. And Jody and Trevor, you could sit down. I mean, it's nice of you to stand there for us. I just wanted to, before I start out, just thank Dee Montague and his family. He's a great civic leader and a great mentor to myself. Mayor and I both attended his funeral this past week.
I did too.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Julie
It's
attended as
amazing.
well.
Thanks.
You know, a red flag went up for me when we started receiving emails from the neighborhoods along the light rail corridor, or the streetcar corridor, the proposed corridor, that they weren't informed. And I thought, well, why did that fall through? And so we've asked some questions, and I know there's been a lot of outreach out in the community from Valley Metro and from our staff to get information. But one of the things that I just recently returned from a meeting in Boston, Cambridge area at Harvard University. And it was interesting, when I got off the aircraft, I got a voucher for Uber to come to the conference. And I thought, well, you know, I'm willing to take mass transportation or multimodal, but that didn't happen. So I know that there's other pressures out there for multimodal transportation, whether it's bus, light rail, or streetcar. One thing that's concerning to me is I think some of the statistics were commingled, because you kind of had to dig into some of these attachments to get information. For example, the households with 0 to 1 cars, the study area was 58%, but then when it broke it down, Tempe was at 48%, Mesa was 42%. What does that mean? To me, it means to me that you as residents had to work really hard to extrapolate this information. It should have been more available to you so that you could make more informed decisions and comments. And I appreciate everything that everybody's done. I feel that there's pressures out there in my conference and talking to some of my new colleagues and other mayors and mayor-elects and mayors throughout the United States that, you know, some stated they would not have a streetcar in their community because it's hard to fund and keep the operation and maintenance for it going on. And these were cities in California. But regardless, I think personally that there should have been better information presented to the public, and especially the neighborhoods involved. But of course, all of our dollars are going to be used throughout the city towards the operation and maintenance if this were to go through and forward in the future. We've talked about high capacity, economic development, and potential developments along the corridor. And I just believe that we need to give this more time to vet this out. And so I'm going to vote no on this. I'm going to tell you right now, because I feel it's important that we have—
Use your jazz hands.
Jazz hands, thank you. That we have a little bit more time to discuss this. And I know we'll have 18 to 24 months, but then, you know, it's a lot of time for Valley Metro and for staff to put this all together for you. But we value your input. We want you to continue to do that. But that's where I stand right now. I think there's just too much out there that we don't really know about, but I know the study, if it's granted, the council moves to move forward on it, that the study will vet that all out. And I'm not against multimodal transportation. I feel it's imperative. I had a really great experience. I used the light rail to go to an ASU game a couple of Saturdays ago, and it was packed. First time. And I want you to know, I ride the light rail probably about every 2 months just to keep track of what's going on. I haven't been on the bus routes, but the ridership is not to my expectations. And I've always said this, and I'll say it publicly, it's been a low-performing asset in our community, but it's brought economic development to some areas of our city, which I have appreciated. But at the end of the day, I'm going to vote no, and I'm going to stand on that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Council, any additional discussion? Julie?
So if the vote is a no vote tonight, we can't jump back into this study.
My understanding is we cannot pursue funding without a study. So if we don't do a study, then we're kind of dead in the water. We don't
Sorry,
put
I'm just
ourselves
trying
in
to
a...
clarify all of this in my head.
Yes, if the council votes no not to adopt the recommended LPA, the recommended corridors, we would stop the study. There would be really no reason to move forward with doing the information gathering to come back to give you all the data to make a decision.
The money just would go to Tempe.
The money would go to Tempe.
I mean, because it was maybe suggested that we could, I mean, the delay of the vote tonight doesn't actually, I mean, we have to vote tonight. And so the delay of the vote really is just saying no to it. I don't really see any way to delay this.
Yeah, that, because Tempe Council is taking action next week, and it's going through to finalize it so that kind of like give the study team a foundation, a base, so that we know what we're working with to move forward, what area, and to give us some certainty when we're out talking to the community on this is the corridor, this is what we've been directed to do, to look at, so that we can come back and we're actually analyzing all the information within that. Because otherwise we could be looking at, maybe we take it down Rio Salado to Alma School, maybe we take it down Rio Salado all the way to Country Club. And there's so many different scenarios that could come out of that we just, financially, from a budget perspective, it makes it more challenging.
And Tempe has not voted on this yet?
They're voting next week.
So if they voted no, this would also be dead in the water?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's just a matter of when the council meetings.
Right, right. I really, truly don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if in 18 to 24 months I will be here, and I don't know that I will vote yes on this, but I do think that we can, I think there could be some benefits, so I want to see. So I'm going to support it because I want to see what the studies lead to. But as I said downstairs, I will make sure that the community is very involved in this and that we really dig into the crime and we really dig into the construction traffic and we dig into all of it so that there are no surprises in the future so that we can make a really educated vote on whether we actually do it or not.
That's our intent.
Thank you. Mr. Summers.
Thank you, Mayor. For those of you who want the unabridged version of my opinion, you can listen to the long study session we had on Thursday. For now, I'm just going to shorten it down. I'm highly suspect of Streetcar. One, I think the economic impact benefits Tempe. We heard that once already. Given this route, you think about what's happening in Tempe. You have the river, Riverview, the mall, Mill Avenue, ASU. There's a lot of things to do. My concern is that all this does is pass in front of the Cubs Stadium. Once it does that, I just envision people staying in Tempe in a hotel, jumping on it for March, coming over to the Cubs Stadium, going to a game, and then taking it right back over. We've been extraordinarily disappointed in the retail development. In a recent retail study, the Quality Retail Initiative that we paid for showed that there was no discernible increase in sales tax revenue in this area during spring training, so that's a concern. Secondly, there's really been no mandate. I know there's a lot of folks in here who are not fans of light rail, and I totally understand why. But there, in 2004, when Prop 400 passed, the voters did approve light rail. And so that's what was built, but that was not part of Prop 479. So then the question's really going to become, where does that funding come from? The 3-mile Tempe streetcar was $200 million to construct right in that neighborhood. And that was with a combination of federal fundings, Prop 400 sales tax, and local funds. Well, we don't have local funds for this. Federal grants are likely to dry up, and 479, like I said, doesn't have it. In addition, we're likely to see some increased costs. Like Rio Salado Boulevard is a major thoroughfare for regional infrastructure. Maybe we can move where those tracks go, but if we have to dig up some of that regional infrastructure, that's going to be a lot of money. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't see this really as being a major public transportation proposal. I think it's a small scale one that'll benefit Tempe more than it'll benefit Mesa. So that will be my vote. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Any additional discussion? Alicia?
I share a lot of the concerns that you all brought up. I have a lot of the questions that you have. I'm not convinced on the need. I do see how it is justified in Tempe. I'm not sure that I see it justified in Mesa. But I do have those questions. And there are residents here in Mesa that do support it and that would like to see it. But I think that this, as we stated, a no vote is a no vote for any streetcar. A yes vote is we have a lot of questions to answer. My categorizing that correct? This is a yes vote is not necessarily a support of transit, a support of the streetcar. A yes vote is there are a lot of questions, and there are a lot of people who do support this. And I think as a city as a whole, that we should answer those questions for the people that are asking them. So that's the way I will be voting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll explain my vote as well. I think maybe I already communicated this, but I think a no vote tonight is essentially putting our fingers in our ears and saying, don't confuse me with the facts. 18 months to 24 months from now, there will be a very significant vote made on whether or not Mesa ought to join and commit to the streetcar. That will be a big vote. And when this council makes that vote, they need to make that vote in a very informed way with data. They need to answer these wonderful questions that were presented here today. The way to do that is to do the study. And so to me, it's clear that that's the correct way to go. So again, council, any additional discussion? All right, is there a motion to move forward with agenda item 5C? We have a motion made by Vice Mayor Heredia, seconded by Councilmember Duff. Please vote. Thank you. That passes 5-2. Next item on our agenda. Thank you. That was a great discussion. Thank you for being here and participating in that. Next item on our agenda is agenda items 8A and 8B. We will consider these in reverse order with 8B first. Is there any council discussion on this item? Mr. Summers.
Sorry, folks, we're still getting used to this. So 8B we're out of order. First of all, 8A and 8B were just technically out of order, although I asked for an opinion and we were fine with that. I've been consistently against installing billboards, so I'm just gonna make this clear. Nobody in Mesa's ever asked for more billboards. As a matter of fact, when you look in look up billboards in cities, you find places like La Mesa, California last year said they don't want it in their neighborhood. The entire state of Alaska doesn't allow them, and nobody that's traveling between Flagstaff and Albuquerque, or better yet, maybe Albuquerque to Flagstaff, because you want to get out of New Mexico, is saying, hey, look at these beautiful billboards. I'm all for comprehensive sign packages if there were stadiums or high rises or buildings. I mean, I think about the renewal of Times Square in New York. Those are advertising billboards too. But the way it's integrated into the built environment makes a lot more sense to me than just televisions on poles. So I'm going to oppose item 8B, and that's the reason why.
All right, thank you. Any additional discussion on 8B? Julie?
I'll just make a few comments. I am in support of this because already when you drive on the freeway, there's a ton of billboards and everyone assumes they're Mesa anyway, so it's not like there's no billboards and there's just gonna pop up. But also, the biggest reason why I'm in support of this is because I think our Mesa College Promise program is absolutely incredible. It's a huge blessing to our city and to the people who participate in that. And it will affect generations to come. And this provides for a solution for the funding of that in perpetuity, really. My concerns were that it would be problematic to any residents that live nearby. And there's been extensive studies done with the view of those, with the lights, so that those that will not be a problem to neighbors. And so knowing that we took care of that and made sure that wasn't an issue, I am in full support of this.
Thank you. Council, any additional discussion? I'll just echo Councilmember Spilsbury's remarks. This on the agenda, it says this is about a billboard. It's not about a billboard. This is about Mesa College Promise and the impact of this exception to our billboard ordinance to allow Mesa Community College to have 2 billboards. The impact of that is the same as a $10 million endowment for Mesa College Promise for low-income college or high school students in Mesa to get funding to go to college. So that's wonderful, and that's something to celebrate. And I'm very pleased and proud that we are doing this. Is there a motion to proceed forward on 8B?
We need.
Someone need, yeah, Mr. Freeman has made a motion, seconded by Vice Mayor Heredia. Please vote. Thank you. That passes 6-1. Next item is item 8A. Any council discussion on this item? Mr. Summers.
So having been soundly defeated on item 8B, and since the council as a whole, as democracy goes, has decided to allow the billboards, I do agree that if there's going to be billboards, that it should go to a cause such as the Mesa College Promise. My wife and I are both former veterans of the United States Air Force, and as part of our service, we had the ability to go to college afterwards, and that, I tell you what, it takes you from doing really grunt work in the military to being able to go to college and having a full career is a big deal. And I know this isn't quite the same, but for people to have access, money is really what suffers most people for trying to get not just college, but technical education as well. So if we're going to do this, let's do it for a good cause, and I will support item 8A.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Any additional discussion on agenda item 8A?
I do.
Mr. Freeman.
Test, is it on? Okay. So I really like this because in perpetuity for educational components, you know, I think the mayor was spot on when this was initiated, because allowing people from everywhere to attend college, 2-year college, I mean, that's the highest degree that I got, was a 2-year college. And I relish that opportunity. However, I probably would have gone further had this been more available in my younger life. But with that said, I'm really appreciative of him moving forward and taking this to the next level, because this endowment will create funding mechanisms for everybody in Mesa, coming out of our Mesa public schools, and adults too. So I feel that's important. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Council, any additional discussion on agenda item 8A? All right, we'll entertain a motion. Thank you. Councilmember Spilsbury's made that motion, seconded by Councilmember Summers. Please vote. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Next item off of our agenda is, it's actually, next on our agenda is agenda item 11A, which is to conduct a public hearing prior to the release of the petition for signatures for the proposed annexation case 23-1004, located on the southeast corner of North Hawes Road and East McDowell Road. I declare the public hearing open. Ms. Mosley, I have in my hand several blue cards on this agenda item. Do you have any other additional
I have
cards?
no others, Mayor.
All right, thank you. We'll hear from these individuals in the order in which they were received. We'll begin with Jeff Potter, followed by Vincent Kelly. Jeff, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
I'd like to say that the notice board that they had up there by the developer or the attorney, whoever put it up there, had a nice little, 4 foot by 8 foot. But when it came to this meeting, there was a little thing that looked like a yard sale sign that was just leaned up against that little 4 foot by 8 foot. So I don't think a full representation of the individuals that would have liked to have come to this one is actually here. But I am opposed to this as it is currently designed. They've come up and asked for it to be zoned in a certain format, but then they asked for 5 or 6 different stipulations so that that rezoning could fit how they want to do things there and not how the actual zoning would be done under the zoning itself. Literally one house away from where they want to build, behind that house, is another property that is almost 5.9 acres. On that 5.9 acres, they are going to build 6 houses. They want to take this 30 acres and build 61 houses. In the surrounding community, most of the houses are rural. We have anywhere from half acre to 3/4 acre to 1 acre lots. I am going to directly see this. This is right across the street from where I'm at. The proposed, value of this, is $3 million. And if they go and were to build on that 30 acres, even acres of 1 acre lots, still that'd be $30 million for the $3 million invested. The community that they referenced that this would be like Luna Mesa development, when they started that development 4 years ago, the original value said starting at $400,000. By the time they carved in roads and broke ground, it was $700,000. So if you were to take and do the math, even at their $3 million investment, if they did 1 acre lots, that'd still be a $42 million profit, or not, for their proposed that they want to do, the 61 houses, that's going to be a $42 million profit on top of their $3 million investment. So what we're asking for is that we go and maintain what the community is, or strictly adhere to what the ruling would be for zoning that is appropriate for that area.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. And we had this discussion. Thank you very much. I have 4 more cards to hear from the public on this, but Mary, downstairs, let's set expectations with this neighborhood as to what the process is. Tonight, what is correct? I'm going to do a quick Reader's Digest, and then you correct me. Tonight, we're voting on releasing the petitions for the folks who own this property to ask to have that property annexed into the city of Mesa. If they go out and are successful in gathering those petitions, they'll come back to the city, then they'll come back to the city council, and the city council will make the decision on the annexation. Then after that, there's a zoning case where we get into all the nitty-gritty of the proposals about how many homes on how many acres and all of the details associated with the development. So there are really 3 bites at this apple. what's happening tonight is we're just releasing the petitions and saying, we'll entertain the notion that this piece of property can be annexed into the city of Mesa. What, correct my description there, Mayor?
Mayor Giles, the only thing I would add to that is at the January 13th meeting, both the annexation ordinance, the introduction of the annexation ordinance, and the introduction of the zoning cases will both be heard on that day, but then the final action following that.
Great. So if we have a motivated neighborhood that wants to weigh in on this zoning case, January the 13th, our Planning and Zoning Board will begin consideration of the zoning case. But before we can zone, it has to be in the city of Mesa.
Right, and Mayor, that's a key point. If they stay out in the county, we have no control on what they can develop out there.
Right.
Unless they want our utilities. But otherwise, by bringing them into the city allows us to have this process with the zoning.
And Mayor Giles, the only thing I would add is that it's already gone to the Planning and Zoning Board. Both of those cases will come to City Council on the same agenda.
Okay, and so it's already been considered by Planning and Zoning. So the January 13th date is when it's at the City Council?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misspoke. So don't go to Planning and Zoning, come back to City Council January 13th. And to Mr. Brady's point, development standards in the city of Mesa are a lot more restrictive than they are in the county. When you have a county developed project, you can tell the difference between a city developed project and the standards to which they are held. So just as a general rule, this isn't Q&A, but yes, but that's generally accepted that you would rather live next to and a part of a city developed project than a county developed project.
All right. Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course, Mr. Freeman.
So, Mary, just reading the council report, background, bottom paragraph says, annexation will establish City of Mesa zoning designation of agriculture or ag on the property. So let's fix that for me.
So Mayor, Councilmember Freeman, what happens is once the property is annexed, it has to come in with a zoning designation that's similar or less than
As the
what it would-
R135 in the
Correct.
county designation?
That's correct. And so what'll happen is it will come in, if the city council annexes it, it comes in as agricultural, and that's what the zoning case will look at, is the rezoning of that property per the applicant's request.
Okay. I hope that clarifies his question a little bit. So it basically, the county zoning is transferred to the city zoning, which will be agriculture, and then again, the applicant is requesting rezone from that. Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll go back to hearing from the speakers, but I just thought it might be better for you guys to understand where we're at in the process and the multiple layers of this process. Okay, we'll hear from next Vincent Kelly, followed by Linda Finkelstein.
Thank you. My name is Vince Kelly, and I live at lot 43 in Mesa, Arizona. And when I had built my house, I built it on a 7.7 acre lot, on a custom lot. This project is going to be across the street from me on McDowell Road. And the problems are going to be is that I'm going to lose a lot of my city lights views, loss of dark sky, loss of privacy looking into the backyards, extra traffic noise, loss of home value, being next to high-density, smaller homes, traffic, minimum of 160 additional cars backing up on McDowell Road and Haas Road because there's a school district or a school bus that picks up a bunch of kids, and that's going to back the traffic up on our community. Now, the other problem is that the entrance is supposed to be across the street from our community, and the problem's gonna be is that cars are gonna be coming out of their community, we're gonna be coming out of ours, we're gonna wanna go right, they're gonna wanna go left, there's cars coming down from Ellsworth all the way down, speeding down there about 40, 50 miles an hour. And the problem's gonna be is that it's gonna restrict our way to get out of the community. Now, McDowell Road, there was discussion on putting houses, smaller houses on Culver and also on Waterbury and also on Haas, but they never mentioned anything being on McDowell Road. Now, if they put 2 stories up there, then it's going to be totally block my view, and I won't have any kind of view at all. So I'm opposing that they basically do not approve this project, because when I moved in and I bought my lot, was told that there was not going to be any kind of project or any kind of housing development at all in that project or in that community. But to put 2.2 houses on 1 acre in that community is going to be really high density for traffic and buses and cars, and because people leave on Haas Road and they travel all the way to Ellsworth doing 80, 90 miles an hour on motorcycles. There's a lot of traffic coming from Ellsworth going down to Haas Road that are coming from the lake. So that traffic is going to be so congested, and I oppose the whole project. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Okay.
Linda Finkelstein, followed by Margaret Kibbe.
Good evening.
Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. So I live in Thunder Mountain Estates, which is across the street from this project. And I have one serious concern and one area where I'm offended. Let's go with the serious concern. I don't think it's nice for people to meet by accident. And I am convinced we're going to have people hurt trying to negotiate leaving and coming from their homes. If you think about Los Andes, they have the street Ridgecrest because there's a bunch of people on one side of McDowell who leave the neighborhood, and then on the other side of McDowell, they leave their neighborhood. It's the two will collide. And just knowing human nature and knowing how people go real fast down McDowell, I don't know who's gonna get hurt, but people will. And it seems like, this is my understanding, maybe it's not accurate, but it seems like the city doesn't want to take responsibility for traffic control and safety, and neither does the county. And I had one person say to me today, well, get the names of everybody who approves this when there's a class action suit, because you theoretically care about us. But if you let this development come, and I'm not even talking about how many houses that they come in at the last piece of open property and everybody else has half an acre, 3/4 of one, and they're the last piece of property to be developed, and they just cram in these houses. They're gonna look beautiful. I know that. Congratulations. They could put fewer homes for more money, but that's not their business model. So the area that I'm concerned about, that I'm offended, is the idea that they would come in and this is the last piece of property and they're gonna milk it for all they can. And if you actually were to drive out and look at the neighborhoods, I think it's a really precious area. And we came there with an expectation, and it's a shame, but the real issue for me mostly is the safety. And I don't know why government can't take responsibility for what they know is going to be an issue. Los Andes has a solution. We would need that as well. So that's my comment.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Linda. And I'm sure you'll be back for if this project goes forward. Margaret Kibbe, followed by Norm Sendler. Okay. I get it. Okay, Margaret's indicated she'll be back for the zoning case, assuming that there is one. Norm Sendler is the last card I have on this agenda item.
Are we still talking about 5C?
No, we're talking about 11A.
All right, so I live at Halls and McDowell, and actually wrapping a little bit into 5C, there were some really good points, because what's being proposed is just a tremendous density of homes, so totally out of whack with what is in that neighborhood. And I don't know if you can see pictures very well, but here's the little attachment that came with what was on the agenda today, right? So it's black and white. Here's this nice little red line. That's what it looks like. But this is actually what it looks like. So let me put this one back so you can kind of see it. I mean, this is what the land is, all right? So you can see that it's 30 acres of open land. One portion of it is for water capture down there. And then this is how the rest of the housing density is. And they're proposing, when they first had these meetings, and Sean, I got a letter, Sean Lake, they said 81 homes, and I thought that has to be a typo. It can't be 81 homes, it has to be 18. Nope, we go and we talk, and Sean is pitching about how lucky we are that Blandford wants to develop this, because what a great developer Blandford is. And it's like, well, Sean, there's just too many houses here. No, Blandford's gonna do a great job. And I said, Sean, I feel like I'm a missionary caught by a bunch of cannibals. And the chief cannibal is saying, Norm, you're really lucky because we have the best cannibal chef. And I mean to tell you, people are gonna rave on how good you taste when we have you for dinner. It's like, Sean, no, I'm sorry. I really don't want to be for dinner. That's not what I want to do. So what is going to happen, and this is what their proposal is, as opposed to just a little square. Now you can see the density of those homes. So here we are in the county, right? There's like 30 homes over here, and they're going to have 77 homes over here on this side. And that's really what the problem is. And I realize that you're looking at an annexation only, but right now it's teed up as an RS-15, not an RS-35, not an RS-45, but an RS-15, so 3 homes per acre. So that's just 3 and 4 times the density of what the homes are over there. So I have one last little picture, and this is a picture of a mouth, and this are normal dental teeth, and you can see what those look like, and that looks pretty normal. This is what's being proposed. And I don't know if you can see this, but there are 102 teeth in that mouth, not 32. And that's exactly what the problem is. So when you're thinking about this annexation, and that's why I really wanted to be here today and present this, is that when you're approving this annexation, you're still by default approving that RS-15 and not a 35 or 45. So thank you.
Thank you, Norm. Any additional comments on this agenda item? All right. Do any council members wish to address this item? Mr. Summers.
Yeah. Just for clarification and bouncing off what Councilmember Freeman said, this, according to the report that we have, because I don't have all that information you have, that was part of a public meeting, that will come to us later. But it does say that the property is currently zoned single residence R135 in Maricopa County. So they do have the ability to build houses in that zoning code. The annexation ordinance will establish City of Mesa's zoning designation of agricultural on that property. Is that correct, looking at the city?
Default when we annex.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's our default.
So they still couldn't build the higher density homes you're concerned of. So we're going to be having this again in January, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot of meetings and a lot of issues coming forward. So you don't have to worry about it going vertical today. All they're doing is coming into the city, and then we're going to have this council will have the opportunity to weigh in on what that development looks like. So, Julie.
Well, just to clarify, Scott, I mean, that is happening all at the same time on January 13th.
Depends on how.
Right, Mary, they'll come in with today's the public hearing to open and release the petition. They come back January 13th with annexation and rezone and the development.
So Mayor,
plan.
Councilmember Goforth, on January 13th, we'll come back with the ordinance for the application, which is the rezoning,
Right.
which is for a different density or for a different zoning district than the agricultural. And at the same public meeting, we'll have the annexation ordinance also.
So, and Mayor and Council, remember, this is introduction.
Yeah.
We don't have to do introduction.
That's correct.
I mean, right? I mean, this is your typical zoning case. We'll do introduction for the zoning case and the annexation. Council can again hear the questions and comments, or even in a study session, if you're not getting the right answers. This is just the process, right? It'll show up on the 13th because it's already gone to planning and zoning. The council always has, there's no inevitable decision here. It's just, that's when it's scheduled. It is introduction. Sometimes council will either defer the introduction and ask for more time, or pass the introduction and wait until, and then maybe work, but that's, we work with the council member to kind of figure all that out. But there's the final decision is not January 13th. It'll be later than that, but certainly it's important to be included in this process to people get engaged, and so this is important, but that we're following the normal process. This isn't anything different than what you've seen before.
Yeah, so that was what I wanted to clarify. We're not voting tonight. January 13th is still not the vote, it's the introduction. So we will, because I have seen zero details on the actual development case, right? So as the neighbors, you guys know a lot more than I do sitting up here that was in our agenda. So I would want to be able to take the time to go through all of the details of the development. And so I'm glad we're not voting on it tonight, because I wouldn't vote for it since I know nothing about the development. But it's good that you came and you sent us emails, so we're aware of it. And so I'll be looking for that documentation to pop up so that I can study it more thoroughly before we have these conversations. And yeah, January 13th, we'll have a good, robust conversation about the actual development and whether we feel like it's too many houses.
Mr. Freeman.
So Mary, walk us through the annexation process. What percentage of this and that triggers the annexation?
Mayor, Councilmember Freeman, so this is just the release of petition, and what this requires is that all of the property owners, once this petition is released, would have to sign this document to then bring that to the city council for the annexation to move forward for that public hearing, that introduction on the 13th.
Mary, how many property owners are there?
There is only one property owner at the current time. So there's only one person, which is why typically we would bring this on the 13th. That would just be our normal schedule. But again, we can modify that if needed.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you. Just one property
this
owner.
is the developer who is the property owner seeking for, the annexation is just the precursor to get the zoning, right? Because otherwise they have to develop.
Currently owned by Blanford Homes.
Right.
Maybe the applicant.
I'm sorry.
Does the applicant want to speak, or?
Well, this is just the annexation.
Okay.
We're not talking,
Okay.
we're not agendized to really talk about the zoning case right now.
Okay.
That's next week.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Right, we got it. I've got, Mary's nodding her head. We agree.
There's not a lot of drama as to how the single property owner is going to, whether they're going to sign the petition or not. Okay, so let's not pretend that, no one's suggesting that. So this is just kind of a perfunctory thing to set up that has to be done before the zoning case.
Yeah, and I think, we're withholding comments on the zoning because this is not the zoning case.
We're not,
The agenda item.
we can't speak to it really.
Yeah. So, and the rest of the council, as you heard, hasn't even looked at the case because the zoning case is not on the agenda tonight. So they'll have had a chance to look at it. This is in my district. I'm very familiar with it. I've been to your community meetings. I understand the case and I'm prepared to talk about it when it gets put on the agenda on January 13th.
And again, just to be clear, folks, on January 13th is when we introduce the zoning case. And 2 weeks later, we'll set a date for the hearing on the zoning case. So I said earlier, 3 bites, you get 4 bites at the apple. Do we issue the petitions? Do we do the annexation? Or do we introduce the zoning case? And then we vote on the zoning case. So tonight is just whether or not the city of Mesa would ever entertain the notion of this piece of property coming into the city boundaries.
And the mayor's the only way we can have a zoning discussion.
Yeah, and we can't have a zoning case until that happens. All right, council, additional discussion on this. All right, thank you. I declare the public hearing closed. Again, this hearing was to release the petition for signatures, and there's no other action on this item, which will come back to the council in the future for consideration on the annexation. We now have a motion made by Councilmember Freeman, seconded by Councilmember Summers. Please vote. Thank you. Passes unanimously. So again, for the neighborhood that are here, please check those dates. January 13th, you need to be here, and that's to introduce the case. And a subsequent council meeting after that will be the vote on the zoning case. All right, thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is item 12A. 12A is the city's annual comprehensive financial report and single audit report. Ms. Mosley, I have one card to speak. Do you have any other requests to speak on this item? All right, thank you. So why don't, well, let's hear from the speakers, and then I'll ask staff to come up and make
Carmen,
a
just have a seat
presentation.
right there. You guys
Yes.
can just see
We have a request to speak from Mr. Kerry Davis. Mr. Davis, welcome.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Regarding the annual comprehensive financial report, I have a couple of questions. On page 14, at the bottom of the paragraph, it says, the city's outstanding long-term debt decreased $117.8 million due to normal debt repayment. If you turn to page 15 and you look at the supporting schedule of outstanding long-term debt, it shows that as of 2023, the city had $1.725 billion in outstanding debt, and at the end of 2024, it had $1.891 billion in outstanding debt. That's an increase of $165 million. I don't see where that agrees with what's written in the financial report, where it says it decreased by $117 million. That appears to me to be a $283 million error. Suggests that would get corrected before publishing the annual comprehensive financial report. Is that correct?
We'll ask them to address that. So give us all the questions, and then I'll ask staff to
All right, so
address
that's
them.
one question, right?
Okay.
Which is correct.
We'll answer that.
Next question has to do with page 52. On page 52, it indicates, based on the schedule that's printed there, that there was a transfer out of $127 million from the utility funds to the general fund. And then a transfer out of the general fund of $80 million. It's been indicated previously that the bulk of the transfer from the utility funds is used on public safety. My question is, where does it show that in the annual comprehensive financial report? I don't see that. I see that $127 million went out of the utility funds, $80 million came out of the general fund, that leaves $47 million. That $47 million, I believe, was then used to increase the general fund's reserve balance. Also on that same page, so the question is, can you show me where the transfer of the utility funds is being used for public safety?
Got it.
The next question has to do with the paragraph just below that table. Says that the transfer from business type activities to governmental activities on the government-wide statement of activities is $126,771,000 operational subsidy from the utility fund to the general fund. If you turn to page 8 and you look at the governmental activities down at the bottom where it shows transfers, it shows transfers of $127,134,000. Yet page 52 indicates it's $126,771,000, a difference of about $363,000. So the question is, on that one, which is correct?
Got it.
So those are the three questions that I have regarding the financial statements.
Thank you very much. Great questions. We'll ask staff to respond to those.
Thank you.
You bet.
Mayor, can we have staff just make the presentation?
Yes.
And then answer the questions?
Absolutely.
Because I think it's important to hear the position by the outside auditor about the integrity of the audit, and then I think we can get into the specific questions.
That's great. Yes, absolutely. So we'll invite staff up to make the presentation regarding, and again, this is a mandated presentation, right? That we conduct the audit and that we hear about it in a council meeting. So this is to comply with state law. So thank you. Part of this was to hear from the public, and so these are all, Mr. Davis was the only card we had. So now we have a presentation on this item from our finance director and outside auditor. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You are correct that it's required by state statute that when the aquifer is accepted by council, that it be off consent, and that the partner that was in charge of the audit be present to do the required communications. I had a presentation that I did a week ago. I wasn't planning on going through it unless council wants me to. So I would just have Jean Dietrich as the partner for Clifton Larson Allen to do the required communications, and then I would be happy to answer the questions that were posed.
Give us a short paragraph summary of your presentation that you gave to to council. Wait, this is a clean report. I mean, tell us what the audit says.
It's a clean opinion, unmodified opinion, no findings. We follow generally accepted accounting principles. And we follow all the accounting standards that are appropriate for governments.
All right.
The city's net position has increased over the last 5 years. The net position will increase when revenues exceed expenses and when our total city assets exceed our total city liabilities.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Allen?
Yeah.
But we'd love to hear from the auditor herself.
Yeah, this is required.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to present our audit results for the audit of the City of Mesa, Arizona for the year ended June 30, 2024. We have issued our report in accordance with generally accepted audit accounting standards in the United States of America, and we performed our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. And those standards, those government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General, and we also performed a single audit in accordance with uniform guidance. For your single audit, we performed a single audit over 2 major programs, your Community Development Block Grant of about $10 million in federal expenditures, as well as the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, of which you had about $24 million during the year. Your CFA that was tested was about $68 million in total federal awards for the year ended June 30, 2024. For the year ended, management and the city did change one accounting policy and early adopted Standard 101, GASB Standard number 101, regarding compensated absences. This increased your compensated absence liability for those certain performers using sick leave, as well as an estimate on what was projected to be used in the upcoming years. This change resulted in a past restatement of net position for the amounts weren't significant and material to the financial statements as a whole. And management adopted that standard in accordance with the guidance. We noted no transactions entered into by the city during the year for which there is a lack of authoritative guidance or consensus, and all significant transactions have been recognized in the financial statements in the proper period. Management does arrive at certain estimates to come at the total ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Those significant estimates would include your single employer other post-employment benefit plan, as well as your change in investment associated with your joint ventures. We evaluate those estimates. We compare their determination with years to see that they're consistent. And we test those balances for management bias. We did not identify any bias in our testing from management. Certain financial statement disclosures can be deemed sensitive. Disclosures of this would be something, an example would be a going concern. There were no certain sensitive disclosures affecting your annual report. And all your financial statement disclosures are considered neutral, consistent, and clear. We did not identify any fraudulent or unusual transactions in our test work, and we encountered no difficulties in performing the audit. Management was ready and prepared for the audit and were issued by November 30th. We did identify a couple of past adjustments associated with the OPEB plan, in that it was fully implemented and disclosed during the year, and there was a passing on restatement as it not material, as well as your compensated absences as discussed previously. None of the misstatements detected as a result of audit procedures and corrected by management were material, either individually or in the aggregate. We had no disagreements with management with accounting policies, as well as with the adoption of 101. And management made certain representations to us upon issuance of your annual financial report. We're not aware of management consulting with other accountants, what we would deem opinion shopping. We're not aware of any such communications. We do have discussions with management regarding upcoming pronouncements, GASB statements. None of those discussions were a condition as our engagement as your external auditors. We do review and read through your required supplementary information. This would include management's discussion and analysis, but we do not opine on such information. And we did not identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control to present to this body. And are there any questions from council for us?
Thank you. I apologize, Jean. I called you Ms. Allen earlier. That's the
okay.
name of your firm. I apologize. Clifton Larson Allen. Thank you, Ms. Dietrich.
Thank you.
Council, any questions from staff or our auditor on this? Mr. Summers.
Thank you for the presentation. We're still working on the technology. Thank you for the presentation, but we've heard from staff on what your findings were, and then it sounds like what you presented to us is what you have to present by law, which is great. It sounds like we're in a good fiscal position right now, but there were 3 specific questions asked and those were not addressed. So I guess the question.
Yeah, but
I will answer.
You're going to
those
answer
questions.
them now? Okay, thank you so much. I should have waited.
all right. Thank you, Irma.
Hi. The first comment or question related to the decrease in the outstanding debt. The sentence that was referenced only spoke to that the decrease related to our annual payments. It was not a statement on the total decrease in liabilities, because he is correct, it did go up. So that sentence, that $117.8 million, specifically speaks to the normal repayment of our debt, and that's all that sentence is saying. That was the first comment. The second comment had to do with the transfer from the utility fund to the general fund. And you will not see the reduction of public safety costs because of that transfer, because that does not follow GAAP if we presented it that way. The way we are required to present transfers, it's other financing sources, so it's at the bottom of our statements. And so you will not see a reduction in expenses anywhere else, because transfers have to be reported as transfers in or out in other financing sources. And our true cost of public safety has to be properly presented in our annual financial statements. So you would not see that decrease, because that would not be following generally accepted accounting principles or government accounting standards that we follow.
If I understood Mr. Davis's question on that, he said, the report reports that we gave $80 million to public safety, but how can I verify that public safety got that amount?
No, he was questioning the $127 million because he did not see it going into public safety. And that's correct. You would not see that because that doesn't follow GAAP. And there is no public safety fund. It goes into the general fund because that's where our public safety costs are. His second part was there was a transfer out of $80 million that went to other funds, other non-majors. And the majority of it, 76 million of the 80 million transfers out went into our general capital project funds, which is how the city pays for capital projects on a cash basis. So instead of issuing bonds, we used cash that we had and we paid for some capital projects. So that's what that 80 million is. And if you look in the combined statements in the back of the financials, I think it starts on page 111, you would see the revenues and the transfers in and out, but that's where you would see where the 80 million transfer went. It went into the general capital project fund.
Great.
And then the other comment, I think, was a discrepancy between what was in one of the notes, the transfer note, and what was in MD&A. Sometimes we round in the MD&A, so that's where that $300,000 difference was.
Okay, thank you very much. Do any additional public comment? All right, do any council members have any additional discussion?
Sorry,
Sure.
what's MD&A?
I'm sorry, it's the management discussion and analysis. It's on the first part of our financial statements. It is about a 16-page, it starts on page 5 and ends on page 16, and it's a high-level summary of the city's performance, our assets and our revenues and expenses, our debt, our capital assets, our infrastructure. It's meant to be a summary, so if someone did not want to read a 185-page document, they can read those pages and have a high-level understanding of the city's performance.
And then Irma, when do you send out your PAFR? What's it called?
PAFR?
Yeah.
Well, we actually have a draft that should be ready for you soon. We've already had the first draft come through.
Tell council what that is, because that may be the English version of the
The PAFR is the Public Annual Financial Report. We published one for the first time last year. It's something that we've been wanting to do for a while. And that is a summarized, about 12 to 18-page document that puts in more easy, relatable terms. So a citizen would be able to read it and understand, where's the revenue come from? Where does it go? That's a summarized version of this that's even shorter, and it has more pictures and graphs than words in it. And it's based on the numbers that are in our annual financial report, but it doesn't have all the financial requirements. So it's instead of being 185 pages, it's 8 pages.
It'll probably be a good resource for you as well as for the community.
Yeah, I remember that last year, and I remember thinking it was amazing because then I could actually understand a little bit more of this. But can you just say the acronym one more time? PAFR?
PAFR. Public Annual Financial Report.
You just talk so fast because you know
Sorry.
your stuff. Personal.
It's too Hispanic and nervous.
Sorry, okay, sorry. Public Annual Financial Report. Okay, thank you. Now we all know what that means.
Thank you.
Oh, popular. I'm so sorry. Popular. Sorry, I apologize.
So professional, popular.
I appreciate you addressing these questions, but just to make sure they got addressed, or I know we can't bring him back up.
No, but we've actually had a chance to visit with him on most of these questions in the past. So this isn't the first time the answer's been given, but we'll be glad to do it again.
Okay, thank you.
Well, sorry, Mayor.
Mr. Summers.
Now that we've heard some of the specific questions being laid out, I hope as we go through this civilianized presentation of the budget, we can potentially address how that money transfers into the general fund, through the general fund, and out into these various agencies, because obviously there are questions and concerns about how that money is raised, transferred, spent, and this is an opportunity in the next really 6 months or so as we do our budget to look at how we present this to the public in a way that's easily digestible. So I think taking the questions that we've heard today just as a baseline and moving forward would be very much appreciated.
Thank you, and I'll let Brian from OMB know.
Yes, that's true. Thank you.
Thank you, council. Any additional discussion on this item? All right. Mr. Davis, I hope we addressed your questions. This seems like we would invite emails or deeper dives. We'll continue to provide any answers that we can for your questions. Council, we would entertain a motion on this. Thank you, Council Member Spilsbury is moved for approval, seconded by Vice Mayor Heredia. Please vote. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is items from citizens present. I hope you all looked at the agenda for this meeting. What it says is that we have, we will hear a maximum of 3 speakers for 3 minutes each. Now, I received 6 cards, and thankfully we've got a wonderful city clerk that keeps track of the order in which these cards were received. So pursuant to our agenda, we'll be hearing from the first 3 people that submitted cards. I apologize to the other 3 people and would encourage you to please come back at the next meeting and be here early and make sure you're one of the first 3 cards. So we will first hear from Marcy Hutchinson. Welcome, Marcy.
Thank you much. It's good to be here. Marcy Hutchinson, Mesa resident. Building Mesa's workforce and creating pathways educations through strategic education initiatives has been among Mayor John Giles's highest priorities. Under John Giles's leadership, the mayor, city council, and city staff have supported the funding, development, and implementation of Mesa K-Ready, collaborative multi-generational program. Marshaled community literacy advocates by mobilizing Read on Mesa. Established the Mesa Education and Workforce Development Roundtable. Welcomed ASU's Mix Center to downtown Mesa. celebrated the opening of ASU's School of Manufacturing Systems and Networks at the Polytechnic campus, established and helped fundraise over $1.4 million to date to support the Mesa College Products Program, connecting qualified high school graduates and adult learners with free community college education. Under this mayor, this city council, and city staff, you have tirelessly supported youth programming that engages our kids, meeting their interests and needs with all America City initiatives, such as Project Lit, expression through the spoken word, exciting literacy initiatives at the city's museums, Mesa Youth Climate Action Fund, the Mayor's Youth Committee, Spark, Mesa police officers connecting with communities by coaching MPS elementary kids, and Hacktivate, where our high school students propose innovative solutions to the problems that keep the mayor up at night. The school district has blatantly stolen these ideas, realizing that the solutions to our problems were sitting in our classrooms. Mayor Giles, you have advocated for educational opportunities for Mesa residents at every opportunity. As a Mesa resident and the president of the Mesa Public Schools Governing Board, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for your many years of service as a council member and the mayor of your hometown. Thank you for all you've done to keep Mesa a great place to be a kid. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy, and your timing was spot on. It ended with 0 seconds left. Thank you for your service on our school board. Jeremiah Underwood, followed by Michael Hughes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honored here to speak to you all about how Mayor Giles has helped me and many other students through the Mesa College Promise Program. I can attest to its impact on my life. I can attest to its impact on my life. Through the Mesa College Promise Program, I was able to attend Mesa Community College with no tuition fees, which lessened my financial burden and allowed me to focus on my studies. Although I have the support of my family, the program provided me with additional support and supportive community that helped me come out of my shell and feel more confident in expressing myself. With the guidance and resources offered by the program, I was able to explore different opportunities and get involved in extracurricular activities which helped me develop my skills. This program, made possible by the efforts of Mayor Giles, provides valuable opportunities for students to pursue their education and achieve their goals. Being a part of the program, I am committed to helping other students. Being part of the program, I have been valuable opportunities for students to achieve their goals. Being a part of the program has been a rewarding experience for me, and now as a student specialist working for the Mesa College Program, I am committed to helping other students have the same positive experience. There is no doubt that you, Mayor Giles, has made lasting impact on the city and its future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you very much. Michael Hughes.
It may take me a while to get up there.
Okay. We won't start the clock till you get up here.
You guys okay for one more? Well, Mayor Giles, here you are on the half-yard line at your last council meeting, and I've been asked to come tonight to share a few thoughts on your 10 incredible years as Mesa's mayor. I will make my comments short, as I know you are ready to conclude this meeting. I know that you appreciate all the wonderful accolades that have been given to you these last several weeks. I also know that being the humble person that you are, it is not something that you feel very comfortable with. With that being said, I wanted to come tonight to say two very simple but meaningful words. Thank you. Last week, I had the honor and the privilege to hear many people speak to congratulate you on a job well done. They talked and congratulated you on how you have improved Mesa businesses and how you have made Mesa a better place to live, and how you have created more jobs, and how you have done so much for so many. I agree with everything that was said. They were all tributes that were very well deserved. I'm here to say thank you for doing your very best to not only help the haves, but also doing your very best to help the have-nots. Yes, the have-nots, the less fortunate. The people who don't have a roof over their heads, the people who don't have enough food to eat, the people who can't afford utilities, the people who are destitute, the people who need the most help. You have championed for the people who are not only abled, but for those who are disabled. I say thank you because you have done it in a kind, caring, respectful, authentic, and approachable manner. You have always done what is right. Mayor, what I appreciate so much is that you did it with honor and grace. Mayor Giles, thank you for doing your very best for all the people of Mesa. Mayor Giles, thank you so much for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate the jazz hands. That concludes our agenda for this meeting, but I am going to take a point of personal privilege and just, because this is my last meeting. It's been 10 years, and 4 years before that on the council, 15 years before that. And here's the big irony. In the last, last week or two, that we've had a couple of opportunities where people have come and been so kind to express thanks to me. And I'm just, I don't get that, because I am so grateful for the opportunity to have served in this position for the last 10 years. It's been the honor of my life, and I will never do anything professionally that will ever approach what a tremendous honor this has been. I'm born and raised in Mesa, and I believe that serving this organization, serving this municipality, is the highest calling that I could have pursued. And I'm just, again, incredibly grateful to the people of Mesa for electing me 3 times to this position. The other thing, I'll close with this. If you read the Mesa City Charter, the actual powers that are granted to the mayor are pretty minimal. There's not a tremendous amount of clout that's written into the city charter for this position. And so the only way that a mayor is impactful or mayor gets anything done in this form of government is if he plays this as a team sport. And so for anyone who has any appreciation for anything that I've been involved in the last 10 years, I would just remind you, I am so proud to have been part of a strong city team of elected officials and staff and a supportive community that has come together in this community in such a great way to make some really great things happen. Mesa's in a great place right now, and we are, as the awards that we celebrated today indicate, we're going to have to get over this Mesa humility thing that we're all very proud of, and acknowledge that there are great things happening here, and it's a small part of that had to do with who the mayor was. So thank you as a resident and someone who's hoping to raise my 8 and growing number of grandchildren here. I am so thrilled that they will be able to choose Mesa, Arizona as the place where they can come back and work and even continue to raise their children. Mesa is one of those cities in the United States. You don't have to go to Austin or Salt Lake or Denver or the Bay Area if you want to have high quality jobs and access to all of the opportunities that this great country provides. And so I'm proud to call Mesa home, and I'm very grateful to you for the opportunity to have served. So that concludes this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Mr. Freeman. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. We are adjourned.